Chapter 317. However, is there any meaning to this kind of framing? What good is it for them to make me do something to Xinjingxian? What harm is there to me? Xiao Chen couldn't figure out the crux of it all at once. At present, Xiao Chen's only enemies were Qiao Yuliang, Qin Jinpeng, and Li Shanying. It was likely that they were the ones who did this. However, Xinjingxian was Qin Jinpeng's fiancé. No matter how stupid he was, he wouldn't do such a thing to make himself a cuckold, right? Not bad, it seems that you are not stupid. Elder Heaven Ancestor said. Not only is there a problem with the incense, but Goddess Shen herself should also have a problem. There is more than one drug in her body. There should be other drugs. Through your contact with her, I found some. In other words, it is possible that someone is trying to harm me. What should I do? Xiao Chen took a deep breath and asked. Your vitality is omnipotent. You should be able to detoxify it. Elder Heaven Ancestor said. Just like Kerlin's situation last time. Oh, but why should I detoxify it? Xiao Chen's eyes flashed a touch of evil. Under the effect of the incense, there was a touch of manic hostility in his body. It was just like when he killed Chen Jingquan and beat up Qi Zhigao. However, this hostility today, Xiao Chen didn't want to kill, but, you don't detoxify it? Elder Heaven Ancestor listened to Xiao Chen's words and was stunned. If you don't detoxify it, what about her? She is my girlfriend. Why should I detoxify her? Every time she wants to have sex with me in the future, do I have to solve it with luck? Am I King crazy? Xiao Chen said in a somewhat demonic manner. Xiao Chen, this may be a trap. Elder Heaven Ancestor reminded him. Elder Heaven Ancestor, you are so troublesome. Now, you should rest for a while. Xiao Chen reached down to Xinjingxuan's waist and touched a button. It was the buckle at the back of her dress. He didn't even think about it and reached out to tear it. Ah! Goddess Shen, who was no longer bound by her dress, was like a happy little fish that had escaped from the net. With a casual tug, she tore off her dress, revealing her snow-white shoulders and the pair of slender, jade-like legs that made one's imagination run wild. Xiao Chen's throat moved slightly, and the heat flowed from his dantian to his whole body. Although Xiao Chen knew that Elder Sky was right, he still couldn't keep his cool when faced with the goddess he had been secretly in love with for 3 years. He could face Kerlin calmly because he didn't have a deep relationship with Kerlin. He just wanted to protect her. But Xinjingxian was different. Her initiative broke Xiao Chen's last trace of reason and made the two entangled together. No matter what happened to the powerful Shen family, no matter how he would deal with it afterward, Xiao Chen didn't care anymore. Qiao Yuliang didn't know what happened in Villa number 18. Of course, this didn't affect his fantasies. He imagined that Xiao Chen had been secretly photographed by Qin Jinpeng, and he imagined that Xiao Chen would be defeated in a while. However, as Qiao Yuliang was fantasizing, the phone rang. He thought that Qin Jinpeng had settled it, but to his surprise, the caller was Li Shanying. Second young Master Li, what's the matter? Qiao Yuliang didn't have anything to do at the moment, so he picked up the phone. Oh, actually, it's nothing. I'm going to Songming City to do something in a few days. Have you thought of a way to deal with Xiao Chen? If not, let's discuss it together after I'm there. The reason why Li Shanying made this call was to create an alibi for himself. Killing Xiao Chen wasn't a big deal, but killing Qin Jinpeng would be a big deal. Although the Qin family wasn't as good as the Li family, he casually caused trouble in Songming City and killed the son of the vice president of the warrior guild. Even if someone in the Li family was the vice president of the warrior guild, this matter couldn't be suppressed. Therefore, he made this call now to tell Qiao Yuliang that he was still in Songming province and hadn't left yet. Oh, I see. There's nothing we can do here. When second young Master Li comes over, let's discuss it in detail. Qiao Yuliang didn't tell Li Shanying his plan. After all, he didn't want this plan to be exposed. If people knew that he and Qin Jinpeng had set up the Shen family and the Xiao family, he would be in serious trouble. Now that Li Shanying was no longer a partner, Qiao Yuliang didn't tell him such a top-secret matter. He just brushed it off. If Xiao Chen was killed, it wouldn't have much to do with him. Okay, I'll call you when I arrive in Songning City. Li Shanning hung up the phone with satisfaction. He didn't necessarily want to cooperate with Chao Yuliang again. He just wanted to show his attitude. Chao Yuliang hung up the phone with satisfaction. At that time, Li Shanning would definitely think that this matter had nothing to do with him. As for Li Shanning, he found a hotel to stay in first. He planned to rest for a few days and wait for things to calm down before appearing again. Shen Jingxian was lying in Xiao Chen's arms in a daze. The soft sofa became their first battlefield. Shen Jingxian couldn't believe the previous craziness. There was still a blush on her face, and there was a touch of coquettish satisfaction at the corner of her mouth. As for Xiao Chen, he had also recovered his previous calmness. Looking at the breathtakingly beautiful goddess Shen in his arms, Xiao Chen didn't know how to talk to her. Shen Jingxian quietly recalled the previous things, and her rationality gradually returned to her. From the previous TV, to the strange incense, and the bottle of drink that made Shen Jingxian suspicious, all of this, in her recollection now, was it a meticulous trap set by Xiao Chen? Because here, it was Xiao Chen who asked her to come, and Xiao Chen appeared as promised. This made it difficult for Shen Jingxian to think that there was a trap within a trap. Even if she wasn't stupid, it was impossible to think that this was all arranged by Qin Jinpeng. In her opinion, it was Xiao Chen who wanted to get her, so he asked her to come here. Although it couldn't be said that he used force, under the effect of the knockout drug, he made her have sex with him in a daze. Indeed, she took the initiative more, but that was also because of the knockout drug. If there was no knockout drug, how could Shen Jingxian be like this? At this moment, Shen Jingxian looked at Xiao Chen's eyes, and there was no love in the past. It's true that I like him, but shouldn't this kind of thing be voluntary? What's the matter with you using knockout drug? Don't you know how to tell me? Moreover, Shen Jingxian didn't think that the relationship between her and Xiao Chen had developed to the step of intimacy. How long have they known each other? Isn't this a gradual process? Now, Xiao Chen directly omitted the process of their love, and took the last step. How could Shen Jingxuan's heart accept it? It's true that I like you, but if you do this, you will hurt my heart. A goddess also has self-esteem. Moreover, she has said that now is not the time. Her current identity is Qin Jinpeng's fiancé. If she does it with Xiao Chen now, what should I do? Before the engagement ceremony of a big family, both sides will arrange a physical examination. When I am found out that it's not the first time, how can I deal with it? Xiao Chen isn't loving me, but spoiling me. Therefore, Shen Jingxian is really disappointed now. She thought that Xiao Chen loved her and respected her, but now, she found out that she was wrong. Xiao Chen is like others. He likes her appearance, and he likes her body. Obviously, I have promised him to be his girlfriend, but he is still so anxious to use such a dirty trick. Shen Jingxuan's affection for Xiao Chen directly fell to the negative value. I am not a half-hearted person. Sooner or later, I will give it to him. Why is he so anxious? Jingxian, Xiao Chen saw that Shen Jingxian didn't speak, lying quietly in his arms. He couldn't understand the goddess's mind, so he had no choice but to speak first. Xiao Chen, you go. I want to be alone. Shen Jingxuan's tone is a little cold. It is no wonder that Shen Jingxian misunderstood. If it were anyone else, they would misunderstand. Li Shanning messed up the plan. It was originally Qin Jinpeng's scene, but Xiao Chen broke it. Ah. Xiao Chen is slightly surprised. What does Shen Jingxian mean? Be alone? He subconsciously hugged Shen Jingxian tightly. Jingxian, I said that I will walk into the door of the Shen family with dignity. Xiao Chen, I said, let me be alone for a while. Shen Jingxian flared up without any warning. Goddess Shen, who had always been good-tempered and had never lost her temper, flared up. She struggled out of Xiao Chen's embrace. Jingxian, calm down. Xiao Chen was going to ask Shen Jingxian what is going on today. He didn't expect Shen Jingxian to suddenly go berserk. Go. I asked you to go. Didn't you hear me? Shen Jingxian glared at Xiao Chen. If you don't want to see me in the future, continue to stay here. Xiao Chen saw that Shen Jingxian is really angry. He smiled helplessly and sighed. He quickly put on his clothes and left the villa under Shen Jingxuan's cold gaze. However, Xiao Chen didn't leave. He already suspected that something is wrong, so he was worried about Shen Jingxian staying here alone. He got in the car and pretended to leave. In fact, he parked the car in a parking lot far away. Then, he put on the white fox mask and walked back on foot. He sat on an inconspicuous bench under the shade of a tree and quietly stared at the door of the villa. At this moment, the sky is already dark. Xiao Chen is sitting here. If outsiders don't shine the light carefully, no one will find traces of Xiao Chen. After all, martial artists are not cultivators. They don't have a strong soul, divine sense, and mental strength. Chapter 318. After calming down, Xiao Chen began to carefully recall what happened today. To be honest, today had fulfilled one of Xiao Chen's biggest wishes for the past 3 years, which was to push down Goddess Shen. Once upon a time, this was just a dream that could only be realized in his dreams. There was even one time when he secretly took Shen Jingxuan's photo and beat her up in a 5-on-1 fight in the room. In the past, the useless Xiao Chen, although he was the young master of the Xiao family, in fact, he was not much better than most of the losers. He was just fantasizing about it. He had never considered that one day, he would be able to realize his dream. However, when this dream came true, Xiao Chen's heart was indescribably depressed. Especially Shen Jingxuan's displeasure and indifference after the matter, it made Xiao Chen's heart sink to the bottom. The happiness from before was also thrown to the back of his mind. Why? Why did he get it, and it was Shen Jingxian who took the initiative, but in the end, both of them were unhappy. What went wrong? Xiao Chen asked himself that he did not force Shen Jingxian to do anything. All of this was considered pushing the boat along with the current. Speaking of which, Shen Jingxian took the initiative, but why did Shen Jingxian have such an expression after the matter? Or was there something hidden in it? Or was it that Shen Jingxian was going to be engaged to Chen Jinpeng, so before the engagement, she gave her to him, and then broke up with him? Of course, these were all Xiao Chen's guesses. Now that Shen Jingxuan's state was not very stable, Xiao Chen knew that whatever he said to her was useless, and she would not listen to him now. Everything had to wait until he figured out the situation. Shen Jingxian looked at Xiao Chen's back view as he left. Her eyes were a little complicated. At this moment, she suddenly felt a little reluctant. Yes, she still liked Xiao Chen. Even if Xiao Chen used dishonorable means to get her, she still liked Xiao Chen. However, liking him did not mean that she could forgive him. At the very least, she was somewhat disappointed in Shen Jingxian and Xiao Chen. She didn't understand why Xiao Chen had to take this extreme path. Looking at the torn dress on the ground, Shen Jingxian suddenly felt a kind of depression, not knowing how to leave. Now that Xiao Chen had left, what should she do? Now, who could he look for? It seemed that apart from Xiao Chen, the person closest to her was Qing Menjing. But could he ask Qing Menjing for help? If Qing Menjing came, wouldn't the relationship between the two of them be broken? Shen Jingxian had a headache. The madness from before made her very tired. Her whole body exuded a strange sense of beauty. This perfect body that many people yearned for day and night had become Xiao Chen's. But now, what should Shen Jingxian do? She couldn't go out naked, could she? She took down the curtain on the sofa and covered her body, but she couldn't go out like this. She was hesitating whether to call Xiao Chen and ask him to come back. At least, he should send her a piece of clothing. However, before she could make the call, she heard the sound of a car coming from the door of the villa. Could it be that Xiao Chen found his conscience and came back? At least you have a little sense of responsibility. Shen Zhenghao was drinking with Xia Huang and Xia Chen in the nightclub. Suddenly, he received a text message. He opened it and saw that it was actually from Shen Jingxian. "Dad, save me. I am at number 18 Silu Street. Someone wants to harm me. Shen Zhenghao was shocked when he saw the text message. Someone wants to harm my daughter? How could he still eat and drink? He quickly said to Xia Huang and Xia Chen, sorry, you too. My daughter sent me a message. Someone wants to harm her. I have to rush over as soon as possible. Oh. Xia Huang was slightly stunned, and then said, well, business is more important. Why don't we go with you? We are still very familiar with the territory of the province. If it involves the secular world, we can come forward and settle it. Okay. Shen Zhenghao nodded. At present, he didn't know what kind of forces were against Shen Jingxian. If it was the forces of the martial artists, then he should be able to settle it. If it was the forces of the secular world, then it would be difficult to settle it with the martial artists unless he had absolute power. However, if the Xia family came forward, it would save a lot of trouble, so Shen Zhenghao didn't refuse. The three quickly went to number 18 Silu Street. Jingxian, how are you? Shen Zhenghao strode into the villa, but the scene in front of him shocked him. He saw Shen Jingxian sitting on the sofa, wrapped in a sofa curtain, and on the ground was her torn dress. On the other side of the sofa, there were bloodstains mixed with some kind of liquid. This kind of mixture, how could Shen Zhenghao not know what it was? His brain suddenly buzzed. Who did this? Shen Jingxian was harmed by someone. How could he explain it to the Chen family? In fact, women from aristocratic families were very concerned about these things. They were absolutely not allowed to lose their virginity before getting married. Otherwise, after marrying, they would not be valued by the other family. Shen Jingxian didn't expect the sound of the car at the door to be her father, which made her a little surprised. How did Dad know how to find this place? I didn't say anything. Could it be that Xiao Chen said it? But is Xiao Chen stupid? In Shen Jingxuan's view, Xiao Chen shouldn't be able to do such a thing. Then who asked her father to come? Xia Huang and Xia Chen, who followed in, were also stunned. How could they not know what happened in this situation? Xia Huang took a look at Shen Jingxian and no longer looked at her, but Xia Chen's eyes couldn't move away. The Xia family was not a small family. It was even more popular than the ordinary aristocratic families. Xia Chen also saw a lot of women, but it was the first time he saw a woman as beautiful as Shen Jingxian. With just one look, Xia Chen couldn't move his eyes away. Although Shen Jingxuan's body had been covered by the sofa curtain, the exposed white arms still made Xia Chen a little crazy. Shen Jingxuan's face still had a blush after passion. Her eyebrows were picturesque, like a sculpture. With a little charming big eyes and a delicate mouth, she perfectly outlined the image of a fairy on earth. Shen Jingxian wasn't called the goddess of the masses for nothing. She had this proud capital, especially now that Shen Jingxian was even more crazy. Even though he knew that the woman in front of him had just been raped, Xia Chen still couldn't extricate himself. His breathing was a little rushed, and he just stared at Shen Jingxian. Shen Jingxian was a little uncomfortable being stared at by a stranger. At this moment, she couldn't wait to avoid people. It made her a little annoyed that someone was looking at her so insensibly. Dad, you guys go out first. Shen Jingxuan's voice was a little empty, and people couldn't figure out her real thoughts at the moment. Jingxian, who did it? Tell Dad, and Dad will bring him over and tear him into pieces. Shen Zhenghao said while gritting his teeth. Shen Jingxian shook her head and didn't say anything. Could it be that Xiao Chen did it? Wouldn't that be harming Xiao Chen? Although she also hated Xiao Chen at the moment, this was only between her and Xiao Chen. She didn't want to get involved like others because it would only make things worse. Shen Zhenghao thought that Shen Jingxian was in a bad mood, so he nodded and decided to leave first. He wanted to let Shen Jingxian calm down. After all, Shen Jingxuan's clothes were torn. It was fine if it was just him, but there were other people around. How could Shen Jingxian say anything? Xia Huang was also ready to go out with Shen Zhenghao, but when he turned his head, he saw his cousin Xia Chen staring at Shen Jingxian without blinking. He suddenly felt a little awkward, and he coughed twice to remind Xia Chen. Then he reached out and pulled him back to reality. Xia Chen was actually a little embarrassed, and he quickly followed his brother out of the villa. I'm sorry to let you two see this. I didn't expect such a thing to happen. Shen Zhenghao's first thought was to block the news, but Xia Huang and Xia Chen weren't ordinary people. He couldn't do anything to them. What's there to see? Anyone who encounters such a thing will feel bad. Uncle Shen, don't be too sad. The most important thing is to figure out the truth of the matter and find the real culprit. But don't worry, we won't go out and talk about it. Xia Huang knew that this was a serious matter, and this kind of thing shouldn't be publicized. They didn't have a grudge against the Shen family, so how could they go out and talk about it? That's good. Sorry to trouble you too. Shen Zhenghao sighed secretly. He didn't look carefully at the door of the villa because he was in a hurry, but now when Shen Zhenghao went out, he found a Land Rover parked at the door of the villa. He looked at the license plate. Wasn't this Xiao Chen's car? Could it be that this thing was done by Xiao Chen? Shen Zhenghao was furious. The more he thought about it, the more likely it was. After all, through his previous investigation, he found that there seemed to be something wrong between Xiao Chen and Shen Jingxian. Xiao Chen must have lied to his daughter. Judging from the current situation, his daughter definitely didn't do it willingly. Otherwise, she wouldn't have texted him, and she wouldn't have looked like she lost her wits. Thinking of this, Shen Zhenghao didn't care about anything else. He walked directly to the Land Rover and exerted his strength. The door of the Land Rover's driver's seat was pulled down by him and fell to the ground with a paw. Xiao Chen, get out. The moment the door was opened, Shen Zhenghao's eyes saw a person sitting in the driver's seat of the car, so he subconsciously thought that it was Xiao Chen who did something bad and didn't have time to escape. But in the next moment, he felt that something was wrong, because this person wasn't Xiao Chen, but Qin Jinpeng. Xiao Chen and Qin Jinpeng were people he was familiar with. He could recognize the problem at a glance. Qin Jinpeng, how come it's you? What are you doing here? Shen Zhenghao was a little inexplicable. Why is the person in the car at the door Qin Jinpeng? However, Qin Jinpeng didn't respond to him. Shen Zhenghao shouted again, then reached out to push Qin Jinpeng. It was just a push, and Qin Jinpeng fell directly on the passenger seat, motionless. Chapter 319. Jinpeng? Shen Zhenghao yelled and pulled him up. This time, he took a closer look. He saw that Qin Jinpeng's throat had been broken, and he was no longer breathing. Shen Zhenghao was shocked. Fortunately, Xia Huang and Xia Chen were here. If he was alone, others would think that he killed Qin Jinpeng. After all, Qin Jinpeng was a person at the scene. It was normal for Shen Zhenghao to think that he was the one who harmed Shen Jingxian. It was not surprising that Shen Zhenghao killed him to vent his anger. He has been dead for a while. Although Xia Chen was not a pharmacist, he had been dealing with medicinal herbs since he was a child. He still had some understanding of some medical things. He was really ecstatic now. Previously, when he was drinking with Shen Zhenghao, he had already learned that the Shen family and the Qin family were in-laws. Shen Zhenghao's daughter was engaged to Qin Jinpeng of the Qin family. Therefore, although he was very obsessed with Shen Jingxian before, he also knew that Shen Jingxian belonged to Qin Jinpeng, not him. He could only look at her. Now that he heard that the person who died was Qin Jinpeng, he was overjoyed. Qin Jinpeng was dead. Didn't that mean that he had a chance? Of course, if Shen Jingxian hadn't been raped, then Xia Chen wouldn't have a chance. The gap between the Xia family and the Shen family wasn't small, especially when Xia Chen wasn't the focus of the Xia family. In the future, the successor to the position of the family master would definitely be Xia Huang. It would be good if he could get the position of the family elder if he worked hard. However, that was also a matter of the future. Now, he was just a member of the Xia family's business executive. He didn't have a special identity. But now that Shen Jingxian was no longer a virgin, Xia Chen had a chance. The Xia family could use this as a condition to talk about marriage with the Shen family. We don't care. As long as Shen Jingxian is willing to marry, the Xia family will be grateful and marry her. It could be said that at this moment, Xia Chen's mind turned quickly. He suddenly figured out the key, so he began to flatter Shen Zhenghao. He jumped out and said so, in fact, to testify for Shen Zhenghao that he was not the murderer of Qin Jinpeng. While the three of them were shocked by Qin Jinpeng's death, an Audi A6L drove over quickly and stopped beside the Land Rover and Shen Zhenghao. Qiao Yuliang quickly got out of the car and shouted, "Uncle Shen, you're here too. Just now, Jinpeng sent me a message saying that something happened here. Xiao Chen wanted to do something bad to Jingxian, so I rushed over." "How is it? How is it? Did you catch Xiao Chen?" "Xiao Chen?" Shen Zhenghao was stunned and frowned. How did it have something to do with Xiao Chen? Right, the Land Rover in front of me belongs to Xiao Chen. Was Qin Jinpeng killed by Xiao Chen? However, Xiao Chen wasn't a martial artist. How could he kill Qin Jinpeng, who was at the peak of the second stage of inner force? It wasn't realistic. Yes, Xiao Chen is in the car, right? Jinpeng told me that Xiao Chen was going to do something to Jingxian. He asked me to hurry over. As Qiao Yuliang spoke, he stuck his head out to look inside the car. What he saw shocked him. Isn't this Golden Rock? What happened to him? He was killed. I just found out. Shen Zhenghao said, I saw a car here. I thought it was Xiao Chen's car, so I pulled the door open. As a result, I found that Qin Jinpeng was dead inside. According to the two nephews of the Xia family, Qin Jinpeng had been dead for a while. It should have been before we came. Yes, and the person who killed him was obviously a powerful martial artist. He made Qin Jinpeng unable to fight back. Xia Chen pointed at Qin Jinpeng's throat and said, I don't know who did it. Qiao Yuliang was a little dumbfounded. What's going on? According to the plan, it shouldn't be like this. Wasn't Qin Jinpeng supposed to be arrogant and catch Xiao Chen in the act? But how did it become Qin Jinpeng's death? Where's Xiao Chen? Could it be that Xiao Chen didn't come? At this moment, Qiao Yuliang's mind was blank. Qin Jinpeng, who was on the phone with him and planned to deal with Xiao Chen, died just like that. There's a mask here. Xia Huang was also carefully investigating the situation inside the car. Suddenly, he found a silicone mask under the windshield of the car. This mask. Isn't it Xiao Chen's appearance? When Xia Huang picked up the mask and opened it with his hand, Shen Zhenghao recognized the person on the mask at a glance. Yes, it must be Xiao Chen. He killed Qin Jinpeng. Qiao Yuliang was stunned at the moment. If he couldn't frame Xiao Chen now, then he couldn't complete the task that Qing Mingxiang gave him. So as long as there was a chance, he must blame Qin Jinpeng's death on Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen, Qin Jinpeng. Shen Zhenghao wasn't stupid. On the contrary, he was very shrewd. At this moment, he looked at the dead Qin Jinpeng in the car and looked at the mask on the car's windshield. He suddenly said to Xia Huang and Xia Chen, you help me put the mask on Qin Jinpeng's head. Okay, Uncle Shen. Xia Chen was now obedient to Shen Zhenghao. He directly took the silicone mask from his cousin, Xia Huang, and put it on Qin Jinpeng's head. Then, Shen Zhenghao began to carefully observe the masked Qin Jinpeng. After observing for a while, he only came to one conclusion. This mask was Qin Jinpeng's. It should be known that this kind of advanced silicone mask was made to a certain ratio. In order to fit the user's face perfectly, it was usually done by a real person. Qin Jinpeng's mask was like this. It fit perfectly on the head, and there was no trace of inappropriateness. This showed that this mask should be made by Qin Jinpeng himself. If it was made by someone else and used to frame him, it would be impossible to fit so perfectly. But in this case, why did Qin Jinpeng wear Xiao Chen's mask? Moreover, why did he drive the same car as Xiao Chen? What was his purpose? Frame someone. A word flashed in Shen Zhenghao's mind. Of course, this frame wasn't someone else, Qin Jinpeng, but the guy Qin Jinpeng wanted, Xiao Chen. During this period, Shen Zhenghao also intermittently judged through Shen Jingshuan's words that Chao Yuliang and Shen Jinpeng wanted to kill Xiao Chen. Especially at Qing Menjing's birthday party, Chao Yuliang talked nonsense after drinking. Although it was drunk, of course, it also represented his inner thoughts to a certain extent. Although Shen Zhenghao didn't know why Chao Yuliang and Shen Jinpeng hated Xiao Chen so much that they wanted to kill him, and even united with the Li family to deal with Xiao Chen, he didn't want to interfere. After all, it had nothing to do with him. He didn't have a good relationship with Xiao Chen, nor did he have a good relationship with the Xiao family. Why did Shen Zhenghao interfere? But these did not affect his judgment. In his opinion, it should be Chen Jinpeng who drove this Xiao Chen's Land Rover. Although he didn't know where he got it, and then he came here. He didn't know how he deceived Shen Jingxian to come here, and then he pretended to be Xiao Chen and did that to Shen Jingxian. When he was about to escape, he didn't know how he encountered an accident and was killed by someone. And the person who killed him was very powerful. Although the reason was not known for the time being, it was definitely an accident. The arrival of Chao Yuliang after the incident also confirmed this point. This was clearly planned. If it was Chen Jinpeng who informed Chao Yuliang, how could Chao Yuliang come now? Chen Jinpeng had been dead for a long time. If he contacted Chao Yuliang, he must have contacted him before he died. In that case, did Chao Yuliang drive an ox cart here? Looking at the way he rushed here just now, it didn't seem like he was wasting time at all. So in conclusion, Chen Jinpeng pushed Shen Jingxian, and then wanted to frame Xiao Chen, and then Chao Yuliang came to help. However, something unexpected happened, and the main character, Chen Jinpeng, died. In fact, if Chen Jinpeng didn't die, Shen Zhenghao wouldn't be so angry when he did this kind of thing. After all, Shen Jingxian would be his woman sooner or later. Now it was just a little earlier. But now? Chen Jinpeng died after doing it once. Didn't this kill Shen Jingxian? How could she get married in the future? Moreover, even if she wanted to hide it now, she couldn't hide it anymore. Chen Jinpeng died, and the fact that he had sex with Shen Jingxian definitely couldn't be hidden. In this way, Shen Jingshuan's life was finished. Thinking of this, Shen Zhenghao was furious. He wanted to confirm if it was what he guessed, so he walked into the villa again quickly. Looking at Shen Jingxian, who was sitting on the sofa with a blank face, he asked angrily, "Jingxian, tell me, did Xiao Chen do it?" Ah. Shen Jingxian was a little stunned, and her heart skipped a beat for no reason. Dad knew? How did he know? It's impossible. I clearly let Xiao Chen go. Did he come back? This idiot. Women's minds were sometimes very strange. Just a moment ago, she was thinking that Xiao Chen would come back to give her clothes, and now she was thinking that Xiao Chen wouldn't come back. Looking at Shen Jingshuan's expression, Shen Zhenghao knew that his guess was right. Now, the whole thing could be confirmed. Chen Jinpeng really did it. He pretended to be Xiao Chen, and then Shen Jingxian would definitely say that Xiao Chen did it. Now, Shen Zhenghao had some doubts. Was the contact between Xiao Chen and Shen Jingxian deliberately arranged by Chen Jinpeng and let him know? Wasn't this to increase the misunderstanding and make him think that Xiao Chen really did it? If Chen Jinpeng didn't die today and left smoothly, then Shen Zhenghao would definitely think that Xiao Chen did it. Then Xiao Chen would definitely not be able to explain himself, and he would definitely be so angry that he would slap Xiao Chen to death. Even if he didn't slap Xiao Chen to death, he would capture him and bring him to the warrior guild. In that way, with the help of Chen Jinpeng's father, Chen Huanling, Xiao Chen would definitely die. What a good way to kill someone with a borrowed knife. What a good scheme. Shen Zhenghao didn't say anything more to Shen Jingxian. Instead, he quickly took off his coat and threw it to Shen Jingxian, signaling her to put it on quickly. Chapter 320. Jingxian, hurry up and clean up. Something big happened. Chen Jinpeng is dead. Shen Zhenghao turned around and walked out of the villa. Although she was his daughter, she had grown up now. He couldn't stay here when his daughter changed her clothes. Chen Jinpeng is dead? Shen Jingshuan's brain suddenly exploded, and she almost fainted. Did Xiao Chen do it? Xiao Chen is really daring. How dare he kill Chen Jinpeng? Shen Jingxian subconsciously thought that it was Xiao Chen who did it. He took possession of her. In order to prevent her from being with Chen Jinpeng, he chose to kill Chen Jinpeng by hook or by crook. For Shen Jingxian, Chen Jinpeng's death was not enough. This person always plotted with Chao Yuliang to kill Xiao Chen. Shen Jingxian hated him a long time ago. He used to be Xiao Chen's underling, but now he worked with Xiao Chen's enemy to harm Xiao Chen. He deserved to die. However, had Xiao Chen thought about the consequences of doing this? After he did this, would the Chen family let him go? Even the Shen family wouldn't let him go easily. He was destroying the family's plan to buy medicinal herbs. Without the Chen family's support, how could the Shen family buy medicinal herbs in the future? How could her younger brother, Shen Jingmao, get the position? All of these were enough to give Shen Jingxian a headache. Of course, she was most worried about Xiao Chen's safety. Now Xiao Chen was no longer the young master of the Xiao family. If the Chen family wanted to kill him, they could do it easily. There was no legitimate reason before, but now there was a reason. What could he do? This fellow is really worrisome. Not only did he occupy her in a daze, but he also created so much trouble. Didn't he know how to endure it? However, when it came to forbearance, Shen Jingxian felt that Xiao Chen was not an impulsive person. Just from the fact that he had been hiding his strength even after he was chased out of the family, she could tell that he was a courageous and astute person. Could it be because of him? There was a saying that love made people blind. Shen Jingxian thought about it carefully. It seemed that Xiao Chen started to show his strength after she got together with him. Did I hurt him? Shen Jingxian could not help but sigh. What should she do? She had already ignored her own feelings. All that was left was worry. She quickly put on her father's coat, covering her from head to toe. Looking at the bloodstains on the sofa, Shen Jingxian hesitated for a moment. She picked up the sofa cushion, rolled it up, and put it in her school bag not far away. This was a souvenir of herself and Xiao Chen. No matter what the future would be, this would become a memory for Shen Jingxian. Although she was a little annoyed after it happened, it was beautiful when it happened. After leaving the villa, Shen Jingxian found that outside the villa, in addition to her father, Xie Huang, and Xie Chen, there were a few more people. There was Chao Yuliang, Chen Huanling from the Chen family, and a gloomy-looking martial artist beside Chen Huanling. Chen Huanling, look at what your son has done. Shen Zhenghao had shed all pretense of cordiality at this moment. Chen Jinpeng was dead, and the marriage was nonsense. It was completely impossible. He must take the initiative. Since the matter had been blown up, he must make the Chen family pay the price. Otherwise, wouldn't Shen Jingxian be bullied for nothing? Chen Huanling's face was very gloomy and sad. He suddenly heard the bad news of his son's death. He rushed here in a hurry and was scolded by Shen Zhenghao. How could his mood be good? However, when he was on the road, Shen Zhenghao had already told him the analysis of the matter. He couldn't get angry even if he wanted to now. He could only say, "Elder brother Shen, this matter is not clear yet. Can you wait until I understand everything? Elder Xiang, please help me take a look. How and when did my son die?" "Yes, Vice President Chen." Elder Xiang nodded and began to check Chen Jinpeng's situation. Chao Yuliang was also scared to the point that his face turned pale. He didn't expect Shen Zhenghao to guess most of the plan correctly. He didn't want to deny it anymore. He just wanted to remove himself from the plan. However, it wasn't that difficult. Now that Chen Jinpeng was dead, there was no evidence. He could just blame it on Chen Jinpeng. He could say that Chen Jinpeng was the leader and he was just a helper. That way, there wouldn't be any problem. Anyway, no one knew that he had to kill Xiao Chen because of Qing Mingxiang. On the surface, most people thought that Chen Jinpeng was the biggest beneficiary. Chao Yuliang didn't get any benefits at all. Humph. Shen Zhenghao snorted. He had a clear conscience, so he wasn't afraid of Chen Huanling. Moreover, the Shen family wasn't easy to bully. Chen Huanling wouldn't lie through his teeth. Vice President Chen, your son was killed by a martial artist at the peak of stage 6 internal force. He was killed with one move. The time of his death was half an hour ago, Elder Xiang said after a while. Chen Huanling could sense the strength of the person who killed him from the scene of his death. When he heard that the person was at the peak of stage 6 internal force, Chen Huanling was shocked. Who was the one who did this? He had suspected that Shen Zhenghao didn't want to marry Chen Huanling and set up a trap. However, when he heard the time of death, he knew that Shen Zhenghao had been with Emperor Xia and Xie Chen. This couldn't be a lie. Besides, thinking about it carefully, no matter how crazy Shen Zhenghao was, he wouldn't joke around with his daughter's reputation. If Qin Jinpeng hadn't been pushed down, it might have been a trap. But now, it was all over. Qin Jinpeng was dead, and Shen Jingxian wouldn't be able to get married. Only a person with a mental problem would do such a thing. Qiao Yuliang, you know what happened, right? Now that things have come to this, just tell me the truth. What is going on? Chen Huanling asked with a dark expression. This. Uncle Chen, it has nothing to do with me. I came here to help Jinpeng put on a show. I just didn't expect Jinpeng to become like this. Qiao Yuliang said sadly. I know you are cooperating with him to put on an act. From the current situation, I can see that it was Qin Jinpeng who set this up to frame Xiao Chen. Tell me what's going on. Shen Zhenghao snorted and berated. Okay. Actually, the matter is very simple. Previously, Uncle Shen, you brought Qin Jinpeng to the warrior guild to discuss the engagement with Uncle Chen. In the end, because you couldn't gather the medicinal ingredients, Uncle Shen didn't seem to be too concerned about the engagement between the two of you. Qin Jinpeng was a little flustered and was afraid that you would break off the engagement, so he wanted to cook the rice. In this way, wouldn't you have no way to break off the engagement? What does that have to do with framing Xiao Chen? Shen Zhenghao's face darkened after he heard the reason. Was it because of him? He was a little embarrassed, so he interrupted Qiao Yuliang's words and changed the topic to ask about Xiao Chen. Isn't he afraid of getting into trouble? If he did it with Shen Jingxian, then there are only two possibilities. Your Shen family will admit their loss and quickly agree to this marriage, or it will be a life and death struggle. The Qin family and the Shen family will break off. Qiao Yuliang said, but it's different to frame Xiao Chen. Oh. What's different? Although Shen Zhenghao felt that Qiao Yuliang's words were a little unpleasant, he had to admit that Qiao Yuliang's words were right. The Shen family was a family that cared about their reputation. If something like this happened, I'm afraid that they wouldn't stop even if they had to sacrifice Shen Jingshuan's reputation. Otherwise, if any small family was allowed to do this, and all the women of the Shen family were raped, then what would happen to the Shen family in the future? Even if old Master Shen wanted to make such a decision, Shen Zhenghao had no right to participate, unless he concealed it. But there was no impenetrable wall in the world. If he concealed it, it would be bad for Shen Jingmao if this matter was exposed in the future. Uncle Shen, you also know that Qin Jinpeng has always hated Xiao Chen. After all, Xiao Chen also likes Shen Jingxian. He even helped Xiao Chen pursue Shen Jingxian. This was a great shame for him, so Qin Jinpeng wanted to kill Xiao Chen. The most important problem is that Xiao Chen had cheated Qin Jinpeng several times before. Qin Jinpeng's car was cheated by Xiao Chen. So Qin Jinpeng hates Xiao Chen. Qiao Yuliang said. Shen Zhenghao nodded. He was clear about what Qiao Yuliang said. The cars that Xiao Chen drove before were Qin Jinpeng's, but there was one thing that Qiao Yuliang didn't say. That was, Qiao Yuliang also had a conflict with Xiao Chen. However, it was normal to hide this, so Shen Zhenghao didn't expose him. Shen Zhenghao wouldn't believe that there was no Qiao Yuliang's instigation. But now, there was no need to offend the Qiao family. And then? Shen Zhenghao asked, after framing Xiao Chen, what benefits does he get? After framing Xiao Chen, he will definitely go home and contact Uncle Chen. Then, he will ask Uncle Chen to help him put Xiao Chen to death. Then, when Xiao Qin is dead, he will jump out to comfort Shen Jingxian, saying that he doesn't despise Shen Jingxian. At that time, Shen Jingxian will definitely be very touched, and then accept Qin Jinpeng. Moreover, she will feel that she owes Qin Jinpeng for the rest of her life. She will treat him well. Isn't this killing two birds with one stone? Qiao Yuliang explained. Qin Jinpeng is good at scheming, right? Qin Huanling, what do you say? Shen Zhenghao was furious at the moment. Now that things had happened, and it was Qin Jinpeng who did it, the worst thing was that Qin Jinpeng was dead. Then, what about Shen Jingxian? Brother Shen, don't worry. I will definitely give the Shen family an explanation for this matter. I won't let it go so easily. But now, death is the most important thing. Let's bury Jinpeng first. Shen Huanling was also very helpless. Before, he had heard Qin Jinpeng vaguely mention that there was a plan to put Xiao Qin to death, and he needed his cooperation. He didn't expect that it was this plan. Okay, this is what you said. Shen Zhenghao nodded. He also knew that it was meaningless to pester him at this moment. Since Qin Huanling made a promise in front of so many people, he would certainly not go back on his word. When the time came, he would ask Qin Huanling to fight for more resources for the Shen family. Chapter 321. Brother Shen, I have a condition. I don't know if you can agree to it, Qin Huanling said after a moment of hesitation. Oh? You have a condition? Shen Zhenghao sneered. Tell me. Let's see what condition you have left. Qin Huanling didn't get angry. He said in a negotiating tone, if Jingxian is pregnant this time, can we keep the child? Whether it's a boy or a girl, the Qin family will be grateful. From now on, the Shen family's business is the Qin family's business. We will do our best. Qin Huanling was a little sad. Qin Jingquan died, and now the only child, Qin Jinpeng, was also dead. Wouldn't the Qin family have no descendants? Therefore, he was thinking that Shen Jingxian might have fallen for it this time. If she was pregnant, then she had to give birth to it. Well. Shen Zhenghao was actually a little moved. After all, things had already happened. If Shen Jingxian could continue to get the Qin family support because of having a child, it would be a good thing. No. I don't want it. Shen Jingxian shrieked as she squatted on the ground in pain. She began to cry sorrowfully. She had always thought that the person she had sex with was Xiao Qin. However, when she left the house, it didn't seem right. How did it become Qin Jinpeng? When she saw Qin Jinpeng wearing Xiao Qin's mask, Shen Jingxian was dumbfounded. At that time, she was intoxicated by the incense. She saw that the person in front of her was Xiao Qin. However, now that she saw that the silicone mask was so realistic, Shen Jingxian began to doubt it. She wasn't very clear-headed at that time. In her opinion, the person she had sex with might be Qin Jinpeng. Although Xiao Qin said that he would enter the Shen family openly, Shen Jingxuan's mind was still in a mess at that time, so she completely ignored it. At this moment, her mind was in chaos. Was it Qin Jinpeng? It must be. Otherwise, why would he drive the same car as Xiao Qin? Why did he dress up as Xiao Qin? Shen Jingxian hated herself a little. Why didn't she resist back then? Could it be that his desire was so strong that he couldn't even resist? What should he do now? She was no longer pure, not because of Xiao Qin, but because of Qin Jinpeng. How could she face Xiao Qin in the future? As for how Qin Jinpeng died, in her opinion, it must have been killed by Xiao Qin. In Soning City, only Xiao Qin dared to kill Qin Jinpeng. He must have come here and seen what happened between Qin Jinpeng and me, and then killed Qin Jinpeng in a fit of rage. Then why didn't he come to see me? Yes, he must be sad and disappointed in me. Shen Jingxian, how can you face Xiao Qin? Originally, she was a little confused and sad. At this time, when she heard that Qin Huanling actually asked her to give birth to a child for Qin Jinpeng, Shen Jingxian completely collapsed. She squatted on the ground and cried sadly. Let's talk about this later. Shen Zhenghao sighed. In the end, he couldn't bear to let Shen Jingxian give birth to a child for the Chen family. That was a little too much. Although he wanted to use the power of the Chen family to let Shen Jingmao take over, it also required Shen Jingshuan's consent. Alright, then I'll have to trouble brother Shen to take care of Jingxian. Shen Huanling gave Shen Zhenghao a look. In fact, he was reminding him not to let Shen Jingxian take medicine and go to the hospital. Okay. Shen Zhenghao nodded. Shen Huanling dragged Shen Jinpeng out of the car. With a plop, a box of medicine fell from Shen Jinpeng's pocket. It was a box of levonorgestrel, an emergency contraceptive pill. What's this? Shen Zhenghao was dazed. However, Shen Jingxian squatted on the ground. Her eyes were sharp. She saw the words on the box at first glance. She picked it up, opened it, and swallowed it. Everyone present was shocked. Shen Zhenghao quickly grabbed the box from Shen Jingshuan's hand and took a look. Only then did he understand why Shen Jingxian swallowed it. However, he didn't blame her. He just sighed. However, Shen Huanling immediately exploded. She's taking birth control pills? Brother Shen, take her to the hospital right now to have her stomach pumped. She must spit it out. Enough. Shen Zhenghao sneered. Shen Huanling, since Jingxian doesn't want to have a child, don't force her. Besides, who bought this pill? Shen Jinpeng bought it. Who can you blame? Shen Huanling immediately gave up. Yes, the pill was bought by Shen Jinpeng. He didn't want to lose his grandson, and he didn't want to pretend to be polite to the Shen family anymore. He said directly, fine, if that's the case, the Chen family will take responsibility for this. But from now on, the Chen and Shen families will go their own ways and have nothing to do with each other. Whatever you want. Shen Zhenghao was also angry. Your son is so calculative. He even bought contraceptive pills. He planned to give them to Jingxian when he came out to persuade her, right? He was afraid that the child would be discovered to be Shen Jinpeng's, right? But it's fine now. It was your son's intention to give Jingxian the pill. He can die in peace. You. Shen Huanling was furious, but he couldn't argue back. He snorted and quickly left with Elder Xiang and Shen Jinpeng's dead bodies. Jingxian? Shen Zhenghao patted his daughter's back. What would Jingxian do now? Although this matter wouldn't be widely spread, at least everyone in the upper class knew about it. Shen Jingxian wouldn't be able to marry into an aristocratic family in the future. Who would want such a girl in an aristocratic family? It would be fine if it wasn't made public. But now that everyone knew about it, wouldn't people laugh at her behind her back if she married her? Uncle Shen, Jingshuan's decision is right. Why should she give birth to a child for the Chen family? Jingxian is so beautiful. She won't have to worry about finding a husband in the future. In this day and age, what's the point of being a virgin? 8 out of 10 are not virgins. It doesn't matter at all. At least, our Xia family doesn't care about it. Xia Chen immediately walked over and comforted him. Xia Huang looked at his cousin in surprise. He immediately understood what he was thinking and fell into deep thought. Although Shen Jingshuan's reputation was ruined, she was still a member of the Shen family. A marriage between the Shen family and the Xia family would only bring benefits. Now it seemed that Xia Chen was interested in Shen Jingxian. Otherwise, he wouldn't have said those words. Xia Chen wasn't a direct descendant of the Xia family. Letting Xia Chen marry Shen Jingxian wouldn't affect the Xia family's reputation. Instead, it would give the Xia family a powerful helper. Oh. Since Xia Huang could tell, how could Shen Zhenghao not? He gave Xia Chen a meaningful look, only to see that although Xia Chen was talking to him, Xia Chen's eyes were fixed on Shen Jingxian, who was on the ground. He suddenly thought of something. Although Xia Chen wasn't a direct descendant of the Xia family, he was still the grandson of Xia Huang's grandfather, Xia Chaonan's younger brother, Xia Chaobei. He was also one of the key people to be trained by the Xia family. In the future, he could enter the Xia family's parliament and become an elder. So, it wasn't a loss for Shen Jingxian to marry him. Of course, it also depended on Shen Jingshuan's opinion and the Xia family's attitude. Xia Chen's words were only said by Xia Chen. Xia Huang hadn't said anything yet. After all, Xia Huang was the one who could speak on behalf of the Xia family. Well, thank you for your company today. But it's getting late. I'll take Jingxian back first. We'll talk about other things tomorrow. When Shen Zhenghao said this, he looked at Xia Chen. This made Xia Chen overjoyed. There was a way. He immediately nodded and said, "Okay, I'll personally visit Uncle Shen tomorrow." "Okay." Shen Zhenghao nodded. He carried Shen Jingxian in his arms, got into his car, and quickly drove away from this place. Xia Huang looked at Xia Chen. He found it funny that Xia Chen was reluctant to part with him. He patted him and said, "Why? Are you interested?" "Cousin, I won't hide it from you. I couldn't help but fall in love with her the first time I saw her." Xia Chen said, "Can you support me?" "I can support you. It's not a problem. It's a good thing for us to unite with the Shen family through marriage." Xia Huang didn't refuse. He said, "But it depends on Shen Zhenghao's opinion and how much support we can give to the Shen family. Don't think that our Xia family is a business family. When we are prosperous, those aristocratic families will curry favor with us and respect us. However, our family doesn't have any foundation. If it weren't for the White Fox hero's help, we would have already been finished. So, don't take our Xia family too seriously." Xia Huang could see it clearly. In fact, this was normal. Therefore, the marriage between the Shen family and the Xia family was a sign of respect for the Xia family. "I know." Although he said so, Xia Chen didn't agree with it. The Xia family was powerful now. They were the only family in the warriors' market. Who could compete with them? So, in his opinion, if this matter really worked, it would definitely work. "Let's do it this way. Tonight, I will ask my father and second uncle for their opinion. If they agree, I will talk to Shen Zhenghao on your behalf." Xia Huang said. "Ah, thank you, big brother." Xia Chen was overjoyed and nodded quickly. Since Shen Zhenghao and Shen Jingxian had left, Xia Chen and Xia Huang didn't have any reason to stay here. So, they also got in the car and left quickly. The originally lively entrance of Villa number 18 was instantly restored to silence. Xiao Chen had been observing the situation from a short distance away. Originally, he was prepared to use the identity of the White Fox to deal with the unexpected situation. However, Shen Zhenghao had come, and things had started to develop in a direction that he had not expected. He actually saw the dead Chen Jinpeng in the car that was exactly the same as him at the door. Later, when he heard Qiao Yuliang's words, he was suddenly surprised. This was really a freaking mistake. But who helped me kill Chen Jinpeng? If this kid didn't die, wouldn't I miss out on Goddess Shen? Chapter 322. Now, with this, the incense in the room and Shen Jingxian being drugged could be explained. It was all done by Chen Jinpeng. Xiao Chen was caught off guard by this shifting of the blame. He was thinking about how to talk to Shen Zhenghao and get him to agree to the matter between him and Shen Jingxian. But now that things had gone wrong, it wasn't good for him to appear immediately. It was only right for the Chen family to compensate the Shen family with some benefits. That kid had disgusted Goddess Shen for so long. He should pay the price for his death. Of course, Xiao Chen didn't know that Shen Jingxian had also misunderstood. In his opinion, Shen Jingxian should know that the person who had sex with her was him. Even if he was also wearing the school uniform, and Shen Jinpeng was also wearing the same school uniform and also used a voice changer, after all, what he said and she had said before. Chen Jinpeng didn't know. Therefore, Xiao Chen wasn't worried that Shen Jingxian would misunderstand. What he was worried about now was how to explain it to Goddess Shen. *CK, Goddess Shen must think that I killed Shen Jinpeng, and in order to get her, I will do anything to get her. However, this Chen Jinpeng really didn't kill me. Xiao Chen was also a little puzzled now. Who killed Qin Jinpeng? Isn't this too much of a coincidence? I was still too impulsive. Xiao Chen didn't expect that he would cause so much trouble. Although he could temporarily push the trouble to Qin Jinpeng, would Qin Jingxian think highly of him for such an irresponsible approach? Xiao Chen had a headache. Why was I impulsive at that time? Elder Heaven Ancestor? Xiao Chen called. Elder Heaven Ancestor is already resting. Leave a message if you need anything. Elder Heaven Ancestor's voice rang out. Xiao Chen was speechless. Don't leave a message, Elder Heaven Ancestor. Why did I suddenly feel like I was possessed and wanted to push Goddess Shin down? It's normal. There's incense in the house. You were poisoned too. The Elder Heaven Ancestor said, moreover, I sensed that the nefarious energy in your body suddenly went berserk. Was it because of the nefarious energy? Otherwise, you've cultivated the heaven's stolen fortune battle art backwards, resulting in a sequela. Now that you mention it, it seems that both are possible. Which one is it? Xiao Chen smiled bitterly. I don't know. I'll have to wait until you go out of control a few more times before I can tell, the Elder Heaven Ancestor said. I have to go out of control a few more times? I pushed Qin Jingxian this time. Who do you want me to push next time? Xiao Chen was startled. If he pushed Miss Cheng, it would be a big problem. Let me think. It's either Tang Tang or Jean Bebe, right? The Elder Heaven Ancestor answered seriously. Puff. Elder Heaven Ancestor, can you be more normal? Xiao Chen didn't know what to say. Next time, if I do this again, how about you take over my body? I take over your body, and then I push girls? The Elder Heaven Ancestor was stunned and said, No, I won't do that. I mean, after you take over my body, you must stop me. Xiao Chen was so shocked that he almost fell to the ground. Oh, I can't stop you. It's your body's instinct after being drugged. How can I stop you? Besides, your spiritual willpower was the strongest at that time. It was impossible for me to take over your body. You'd better figure it out yourself. The Elder Heaven Ancestor said, If I force myself to take over your body, I'm afraid I'll be in a coma after one time. All right. Xiao Chen was a little helpless, but he had no choice. Since the Elder Heaven Ancestor said so, he couldn't force it anymore. Since it was over, Xiao Chen returned to his original appearance. He went to the parking lot not far away, got in the Land Rover, and drove back to the villa. On the way, Xiao Chen wanted to send a text message to Qin Jingxian to ask her how she was, but he didn't dare to send it. He was afraid that Qin Jingshuan's mobile phone would be seen by Qin Zhenghao, so he could only endure it first. All the way back to the villa, Xiao Chen's mood was a little heavy. The miss didn't know about it. She was watching TV leisurely. When she saw Xiao Chen coming back, she just glanced at him and continued to watch TV. Xiao Chen brewed the medicinal herbs and then went to the kitchen to cook for the Mississippi. To Xiao Chen's surprise, he saw some vegetable ingredients in the kitchen. It should be Yi Xiaoye who bought it. You told Yi Xiaoye to buy vegetables? Asked Xiao Chen. Cheng Menjing said with some pride, I told her that if she wants to eat the dinner you cooked, she has to buy vegetables every day, so she did it. Humph, she finally listens to me. After listening to the Mrs. self-deceiving words, Xiao Chen suddenly touched his nose speechlessly. Is this also considered as an assignment? Maybe it's because eldest miss has been losing the battle against Yi Xiaoye recently. Yi Xiaoye bought vegetables to eat the meal I cooked. This is a fair transaction. How can it be considered as an assignment? However, Xiao Chen didn't say it. He just nodded and got busy in the kitchen. He was worried about Qin Jingxian in his heart, so he was a little absent-minded when cooking. However, with the primordial qi to make up for it, the dishes were still delicious. Qin Jingxian returned to the villa with Qin Zhenghao with a blank face. Qin Zhenghao wanted to say something to comfort her, but he didn't know what to say. He saw his daughter go back to her bedroom and close the door without saying a word. After a while, there was a burst of water sound in the bedroom. It should be Shen Jingxian taking a bath. Originally, Shen Zhenghao wanted to enter the door to talk to her and ease her up, but now, he could only wait for a while. When Shen Jingxian returned to the room, she rushed into the bathroom, turned on the shower, and began to wash her body frantically over and over again. She was a little disgusted. I was actually done by Qin Jinpeng. It's not Xiao Qin. It's actually not Xiao Qin. As she thought about it, a line of tears flowed down from the corner of her eyes. It mixed with the water in the shower, and it was blurred and indistinguishable. I am no longer pure, and I have lost my virginity. How can I face Xiao Qin in the future? Shen Jingxian wanted to wash away the smell of Qin Jinpeng on her body, but no matter how she washed, she still felt that there was the smell of Qin Jinpeng on her body. In fact, she also knew that this was a psychological problem, but she just couldn't get rid of it. Shen Jingxian stood under the shower until the hot water in the water heater was used up, and the cold water began to fall. Shen Jingxian didn't know it, and she was still washing her body. Shen Zhenghao waited outside for more than 2 hours. When he heard the sound of water coming from Shen Jingxuan's bedroom, he was a little anxious. Is Shen Jingxian okay? Thinking of this, Shen Zhenghao quickly knocked on Shen Jingxuan's door. Jingxian, are you still taking a bath? How is it? Say something. Dad is a little worried. Ah. Shen Jingxian shivered because of the cold water. She hurriedly turned off the shower and quickly picked up a bath towel to dry her body. She changed into pajamas, walked quickly to the door, and opened the door. Dad, Jingxian, are you okay? Why is your body so cold? As soon as he opened the door, Shen Zhenghao felt a cold air blowing on his face, and he was suddenly shocked. No, nothing. Shen Jingxian shook her head and turned to sit on her bed. There was no expression on her face, only emptiness. Shen Zhenghao sighed, walked over, and sat next to Shen Jingxian. He sat down and said, Jingxian, life is not as you wish. Today's matter, although it was Qin Jinpeng who did it, he also got the punishment he deserved. In the future, you still have your own life. Don't be so depressed. Shen Jingxian burst into tears without any warning. Her tears flowed out at the beginning, but it turned into a loud wail. Shen Zhenghao was dumbfounded. What was going on? Everything was fine. I just comforted her. Why did she suddenly cry so much? In fact, the reason why Shen Jingxian suddenly cried, and cried so sadly, was because Shen Zhenghao said the word Xiao Qin. He said depressed. Thinking of Xiao Qin, Shen Jingxian felt that she was sorry for him. It was all her fault. After being drugged, her desire was too strong. She didn't see clearly and thought that Qin Jinpeng was Xiao Qin. If she had seen it clearly, if it weren't for Xiao Qin, she would have refused desperately. Shen Jingxian felt that even if she didn't risk her life, she would have bitten her tongue to keep her chastity. In fact, many things were often like this. At the time, it didn't seem to be a problem, but the more she thought about it later, the more she felt that there was a problem. The person at the beginning was obviously Xiao Qin, but after a series of things, Shen Jingxian began to suspect that the person who slept with her was Qin Jinpeng. Jingxian, what's wrong? Shen Zhenghao looked at Shen Jingxian, who was crying so sadly, and this time he was really at a loss. Don't cry. No matter what, you are the daughter of the Shen family. Although Jinpeng is dead, you still have other choices. Today, Xia Qin of the Xia family showed that he likes you. Jingxian, why don't you marry him? In my opinion, the Xia family is not as good as the Qin family, and Xia Chen's position in the Xia family is not as good as Qin Jinpeng. He will definitely treat you well. He won't care about these things. Shen Jingxian kept crying. Although she heard her father's words, she didn't have the mood to think about it now. What she was thinking about now was how to see Xiao Qin in the future. Xiao Qin must know about this. He also killed Qin Jinpeng. If she was impure, Xiao Qin would definitely dislike her. Shen Jingxian suddenly regretted it. It would have been better to marry Xiao Qin in the beginning, and she wouldn't have today's troubles. Jingxian, did you hear what Dad said? Shen Zhenghao comforted her. Being alive is more important than anything. Even if Qin Jinpeng got you, he is dead. What's the use of that? Think about it. He is dead and doesn't exist anymore. Does that make you feel better? Shen Jingxian shook her head in pain. Her mind was in chaos. Her mind was full of guilt towards Xiaochen. Although she could hear what her father said, she still couldn't settle her mind. Chapter 323. Jingxian, in fact, you can consider Xie Chen of the Xie family. Since he doesn't care about these things, this is also an opportunity for you. Shen Zhenghao said, although Xie Chen is not a core member of the second generation of the Xie family, he is also a key training target. Oh. Shen Jingxian answered without expressing her opinion. Marry Xie Chen? Maybe. Maybe in this way, Xiaochen will completely give up on me. I don't deserve him. He'd better be with Qing Menjing. After calming down a little, Shen Jingxian began to think about Xiaochen. She was no longer pure, so she couldn't be with Xiaochen. Xiaochen had better choices, such as Qing Menjing, Tang Tang, and Jin Beibei. They were all good choices. Why did he still like her? In the past, she was a high and mighty goddess. Now, she had already been turned into a broken flower by Qin Jinpeng. Xiaochen definitely didn't like her anymore, right? He killed Qin Jinpeng to vent his anger today, but he didn't come in to see her. Obviously, he didn't want to face her anymore. That must be it. Xiaochen didn't know how to explain it to her, so he chose to escape first. Why did she bother to get close to him? Originally, Shen Jingxian wanted to send a text message to Xiaochen to explain to him. But now she thought about it carefully. Xiaochen knew it and saw her being raped by Qin Jinpeng, but he still didn't come to comfort her. Then why did she embarrass him? She might as well marry into the Xie family. In this way, she would have nothing to do with Xiaochen. They would break up peacefully and never contact each other again. Now Shen Jingxian had gone to the extreme. She took it for granted that the person she raped was Qin Jinpeng, and Qin Jinpeng was killed by Xiaochen. Xiaochen didn't come to her after killing Qin Jinpeng because he didn't want to be with her anymore. Jingxian, do you agree? Hearing Shen Jingxuan's words, Shen Zhenghao was a little happy. Although it was unreasonable for his daughter to marry someone else as soon as Qin Jinpeng died, he actually wanted Shen Jingxian to walk out of the shadow as soon as possible. The Shen family was an ancient martial arts family. It was true that they valued sons more than daughters. However, Shen Zhenghao was also a person who had been in contact with modern society for many years. He also loved his daughter. He didn't want his daughter to live a miserable life. Now, the Xie family was undoubtedly the best choice. Shen Jingxian nodded. Anyway, she was now a broken flower. She could be used to marry into the Xie family in exchange for some resources for her brother. This was also what Shen Jingxian wanted to see. Her heart was dead. Since she couldn't be with Xiaochen in this life, it didn't matter who she married. Just treat these few short weeks of happiness as a dream, okay? Then I will agree to Xie Chen's marriage proposal tomorrow. When you appear as the daughter-in-law of the Xie family, those rumors will naturally disappear. Although the Xie family's foundation is unfortunate, they are now the only supplier of Songning martial artist market. Their current status is still quite prominent. They are the object of everyone's flattery. Shen Zhenghao said. Shen Jingxian responded softly, Dad, I'm sleepy. I'm going to sleep first, okay? Don't worry. This little setback is nothing. Shen Zhenghao nodded and patted Shen Jingxuan's shoulder. He went out of the room. He had to call the Shen family immediately to report this matter. Moreover, Shen Jingxuan's mother and younger brother also had to be informed. Shen Zhenghao sighed. It would be a lie to say that he didn't care about his daughter. However, sometimes one must know how to make a choice. In an ancient martial arts family, the man was the root. Shen Jingxian covered her head with the quilt and cried again on the bed. the originally beautiful life suddenly became bleak. Xiao Qin. I miss you. Shen Zhenghao told the Shen family about what happened here. After the Shen family heard it, they were furious. However, after learning that Qin Jinpeng had been killed, they felt helpless. From the perspective of the Shen family, if Qin Jinpeng was not dead, everything would be fine. They would let the Qin family pay a certain price, and then Shen Jingxian would continue to marry Qin Jinpeng. This was a good thing that killed two birds with one stone. But now that Qin Jinpeng was dead, how could Shen Jingxian still marry into the Qin family? The third generation of the Qin family was all dead. They couldn't have a ghost marriage, right? However, after hearing that Shen Zhenghao was interested in the Xia family, Grandpa Shen immediately agreed to Shen Zhenghao's decision. He would let Shen Jingxian marry into the Xia family to calm down the storm as soon as possible. Moreover, the Xia family was not weak. For the Shen family, although it was not as important as Chen Huanling's position in the Qin family, it was still very important. In a hotel, Li Shanning was paying attention to the progress of the matter. He had already talked to his grandpa. Although Grandpa Shen did not agree with his impulsiveness, now that the matter had already happened, he still had to try his best to help him settle it. So, he let him stay in the hotel first. Grandpa Li did not hesitate to use his connections to personally inquire about the news for him. Now, the situation was clear. Li Shanning also knew why Qin Jinpeng pretended to be Xiao Qin. This result made Li Shanning speechless. I am really meddlesome. If it weren't for me, Xiao Qin would have been dead tonight, wouldn't he? But now, Xiao Qin did not die, and Qin Jinpeng was mistakenly killed by me. I am really meddlesome. However, there was one thing that made Li Shanning feel a little strange. When I first saw Qin Jinpeng should not have succeeded yet. Otherwise, why did he buy the medicine with Xiao Chen's face and return to the villa with Xiao Chen's face? According to the progress of the plot, Qin Jinpeng should have appeared in the pharmacy and the villa with his original face. After all, if someone investigated and found that it was Xiao Chen who bought the medicine, and in the end, it was Qin Jinpeng who gave it to Shen Jingxian, they would definitely be suspicious. Moreover, he had already returned to the villa. Why did Qin Jinpeng still not take off his mask? Wasn't he sick? If someone saw it at this time, wouldn't his previous plan be in vain? Could it be that Qin Jinpeng did not succeed? Who was the one who pushed Shen Jingxian down? Or could it be that Shen Jingxian was not pushed down at all, and it was the Shen family who put on a show? Li Shanning was puzzled. Of course, he would not jump out and say this matter now. Wasn't it looking for trouble for himself? Now, in Li Shanning's view, the Shen family should be more likely to put on a show. After all, through several contacts with Qin Jinpeng and Shen Jingxian, Li Shanning found that Shen Jingxian did not seem to like Qin Jinpeng at all. In this way, it could also be explained. Under normal circumstances, the Shen family could not break off the engagement. Now, not only could they break off the engagement, but they could also get some benefits. This was really a good plan. Of course, as for Shen Jingshuan's reputation, it was not within the scope of Li Shanning's consideration. His family was not worse than the Shen family, but it was still very serious. The women in this kind of family were basically tools for the family's interests. Reputation and so on could be completely ignored. However, this was a blackmail. Li Shanning really planned to blackmail Shen Zhenghao. But not now. Wouldn't he expose himself if he went out? At night, Xiao Chen sat cross-legged on the bed and began to practice the mantra. The matter of Shen Jingxian was like a fishbone stuck in his throat, which made him very uncomfortable. But the more it was like this, the stronger his desire to practice was. He wanted to improve his strength, and improve his strength again. Only by possessing absolute strength could one enter the Shen family with dignity and dignity. Now, in Xiao Chen's view, Shen Jingxian drove him away to protect him. If the Qin family and the Shen family knew that it was him who did it, they would definitely not let him go. Even if Xiao Chen was now a cultivator at the peak of the 5th level of the refinement stage, even if the Shen family did not do much, the Qin family alone was enough to make Xiao Chen suffer. Moreover, now that Qin Jinpeng died inexplicably, if he stood out, the Qin family would definitely think that he killed Qin Jinpeng. Then, he would really be unable to explain himself. Xiao Qin took a deep breath. He finally understood that in the world of martial artists, strength was everything. If Xiao Qin was a cultivator at the 9th or 10th level of the refinement stage, even if he pointed to Qin Wuxin's nose and said that he killed Qin Jinpeng, Qin Wuxin would not even dare to fart. This was the powerful deterrence brought about by strength. After taking the medicine and training, Xiao Qin was now in the best state of cultivation. He held the spiritual jade in his hand and quickly practiced the mantra. Suddenly, a trace of heaven and earth Reiki began to surge around Xiao Qin's body. As he practiced the mantra, the Reiki began to flow into his body. A small amount of heaven and earth Reiki began to appear above his head and around his body. Am I going to break through? Xiao Qin was shocked. However, the movement of this breakthrough seemed to be a little big, and the speed was a little fast. He had just broken through to the 5th level of the refinement stage not long ago. Moreover, he had just reached the peak of the 5th level. Today, there were already signs of a breakthrough. Normally, although the heaven and earth Reiki would be absorbed by Xiao Qin, it would not be attracted to him in such a big way. Instead, it would hover around him and flow into his body in large amounts. Of course, the so-called large amounts were also very small. In the current era, the heaven and earth Reiki was very thin. This kind of trickle of heaven and earth Reiki was not enough to satisfy Xiao Qin's needs for a breakthrough. Xiao Qin held the ancient jade tightly and quickly practiced the mantra. However, he felt that something was missing. Today was not the right day to break through. However, just as he was thinking about this, he felt a sudden surge of heat in his dantian. It surged into the meridians of his body and suddenly exploded. Boom! The powerful and majestic impact did not make Xiao Qin feel any pain. Instead, he felt a sense of relief. At the same time, the heat in his dantian continued to surge out and occupy the meridians of Xiao Qin's body. This powerful heat flowed back and forth in Xiao Qin's meridians. Soon, Xiao Qin encountered something similar to a barrier. Chapter 324. Is this the barrier of the 6th layer of the Qi refinement realm? Xiao Qin was shocked. He really couldn't figure out why he was about to break through again in just a few days. How could he break through without the help of the ancient jade? However, the essence in his meridians was attacking the barrier again and again. This feeling couldn't be wrong. Although every time he reached the most crucial point, he would always be blocked by that invisible barrier, Xiao Qin knew that he was only one step away from breaking through. Xiao Qin didn't dare to be negligent. He continued to quickly circulate the mnemonic chant. No matter why he had to break through, breaking through was always a good thing. The essence in his body, under the guidance of the mnemonic chant, attacked the barrier like an avalanche. It wanted to break through the barrier in one fell swoop. Finally, as more and more Yuan Qi attacked the barrier began to loosen slightly. I'm about to break through. Xiao Qin clenched his teeth and continued to circulate the mnemonic chant. At this moment, he felt like his body was like a balloon that was about to explode. However, he didn't stop. He continued to mobilize the essence in his body and crazily attacked the barrier. At this moment, Xiao Qin's forehead was covered with beads of sweat. His clothes were completely soaked, and his face looked incomparably ferocious because of the huge explosion. Breakthrough! Xiao Qin shouted fiercely in his heart, and then his entire body shook. Boom! He only felt a loud sound coming from his body. The essence that had accumulated at the edge of the barrier surged out like a broken dam. I finally broke through. The 6th layer of the Qi refinement realm. Feeling the great satisfaction brought by his new strength, Xiao Qin took a deep breath and a faint smile appeared on his face. Elder Heaven Ancestor, I broke through. At this moment, Xiao Qin suddenly felt like a genius that he hadn't felt for a long time. Previously, when the jade pendant was gone, it caused his cultivation speed to stagnate. Xiao Qin was really depressed for a long time. Moreover, Xiao Qin had not been able to break through to the fourth layer of the qi refinement stage, which made him even more discouraged. However, after breaking through to the fifth layer and the sixth layer consecutively, Xiao Qin felt that he had once again become the genius Xiao Qin who had just stepped onto the path of cultivation. I know you broke through. The elder heaven ancestor's voice was somewhat serious. But do you know why you broke through? Why? Xiao Qin was stunned. That's right, but he had never thought about why. From his point of view, breaking through was normal, and not breaking through was abnormal. Because a part of the evil energy in your body was converted and turned into your essence, so you broke through. The elder heaven ancestor said. The evil energy in my body was converted? Xiao Qin was stunned. The evil energy in my body, wasn't it always there? Why was it suddenly converted? It should be because of your goddess Shin. I'm not too sure about the details, I was resting at the time. The elder heaven ancestor said. Pfft. Xiao Qin suddenly didn't know whether to laugh or cry. I say, elder heaven ancestor, can you be more serious? I'm too serious. If I wasn't serious, I would have peaked, so I was resting at the time. The elder heaven ancestor said. But according to my guess, when you were venting, you might have converted a part of the evil energy for your own use, right? And this part of the evil energy is the root cause of your breakthrough. In other words, if I ask Goddess Shin to do it 2 more times, the evil energy will be completely removed? Xiao Qin asked hesitantly. That's hard to say. Why don't you do it 2 more times, and I'll observe? The elder heaven ancestor asked. Forget it, I'll figure it out myself. Xiao Qin couldn't help but smile bitterly. He still had to ask Shin Jingxian, but Shin Jingxian was ignoring him. Then, what's the special ability of the 6th level of the refinement stage? The ability of the 6th level of the refinement stage. Why do you keep asking me? Can't you see for yourself? The elder heaven ancestor said. But I'll tell you, you probably won't understand. The ability of the 6th level of the refinement stage is called object manipulation. Object manipulation? Xiao Qin was surprised, not understanding. Yes, cultivators can fly on a sword, but your level is too low. You are far from being able to fly a sword. The elder heaven ancestor said. But you can still drive objects, as long as they are small things that you can control. Of course, the lighter they are, the easier it is to control, and the heavier they are, the harder it is to control, and the shorter the duration. Is that so? Then this ability doesn't seem to be very useful? At least, Xiao Qin couldn't think of any use for this ability. It's not very useful in the first place. It's just to prepare for flying a sword in the future. What other abilities do you want? The refinement stage is the weakest existence among cultivators. It's good enough that you can use those abilities to the fullest. The elder heaven ancestor said indifferently. Obviously, he didn't think much of the abilities of the refinement stage. In the future, when your level is higher, you will be able to make talismans and set up formations. That will be awesome. Making talismans and setting up formations, Xiao Qin had seen it in some novels and TV shows. It was quite awesome, but it seemed like other people could do it at the refinement stage. But these things couldn't be compared. One was reality, and the other was fiction. Then how do I operate it? Asked Xiao Qin. It's very simple. You just need to use your mind to control it. The elder heaven ancestor said, you can try it now. Okay. Xiao Qin nodded. He sat on the bed and began to stare at the phone on the desk. He wanted to take it, but the phone didn't move after a long time. Why doesn't it work? It's too far, said the elder heaven ancestor. Xiao Qin was speechless. He chose a drink that was closer. A bottle of drink on the bedside table slowly rose and flew toward Xiao Qin. Xiao Qin caught it in his hand. Although he wasn't very familiar with it, Xiao Qin was still a little surprised. This way, he could save his hands. In the future, when he took off Goddess Shin's clothes, Would he not need his hands? This ability didn't seem to be very useful, but Xiaochen felt that it was fun. So, he began to go back and forth to pick up the items nearby. He found that it was very convenient. The next time he cooked, he could directly pick up the seasoning, put it away, and then put it back. After a while of experimenting, Xiaochen also became more and more familiar with it. The speed of operation was also getting faster. Xiaochen also found that if it was a very light item, he could pick it up very quickly in an instant. But if it was a heavier item, he couldn't do it. The most important thing was that this thing really consumed primordial qi. Xiaochen had just broken through and was full of primordial qi. As a result, after such a period of experimenting, he was exhausted and consumed more than half of his primordial qi. After resting for a while, Xiaochen was ready to go to the yard and try to activate the 7th style of Dark Flame Palm. Previously, he only managed to activate the 6th style of Dark Flame Palm, but he didn't try the 7th style. After all, at that time, he was already barely able to activate the 6th style, so he definitely couldn't activate the 7th style. But now it was different. Xiaochen was already a cultivator at the 6th level of Qi refinement stage, which was equivalent to a martial artist at the 7th level of inner force. This strength was enough to show disdain for many masters of aristocratic families in Songning City. At this time, the weather was already late autumn, and it was still very cold in the yard at night. However, Xiaochen's heart was fanatical. The higher his strength was, the greater the possibility of setting foot in the Shen family in the future. He must work hard. For Tang Tang, for Shen Jingxian, he must reach the 10th level of Qi refinement stage as soon as possible. Yes, this was the initial goal that he set for himself. Only when he reached the 10th level of Qi refinement stage could he have the ability to show disdain for the Songning family. Because he knew that in Songning City, there were martial artists at the 10th level of inner force. Feeling that his state was almost the same, Xiaochen began to run the mantra and began to activate the 7th style of Dark Flame Palm. However, Xiaochen clearly felt that the energy of Dark Flame Palm had been activated in his body, but the moment it was activated, it failed. Can't it work? Xiaochen was a little disappointed. After all, when he activated the 6th style of Dark Flame Palm, Xiaochen's strength was at the peak of the 5th level of Qi refinement stage. But now he was only at the beginning of the 6th level of Qi refinement stage, so it was normal that he couldn't activate it. Shaking his head helplessly, Xiaochen began to activate the 1st style of Dark Flame Palm. The 1st style, the 2nd style, the 3rd style, the 4th style, the 5th style, the 6th style. Previously, it was a little difficult for Xiaochen to activate the 6th style, but this time it was very easy. The whole process was very smooth. What Xiaochen was thinking was to see if he could activate it from the 1st form, and then gradually strengthen it until he could activate the 7th form. But to Xiaochen's disappointment, he still failed. The situation was almost the same as before, not much better. It seemed that he had just broken through the 6th level of Qi refinement stage, so he still couldn't activate the 7th style of Dark Flame Palm. However, Xiaochen wasn't discouraged. He estimated that he should be able to activate it since he had consolidated his strength at the 6th level. At this moment, the sky was already bright. It was a new day, but Xiaochen's heart was a little heavy. He didn't know how goddess Shen was. In fact, on Shen Jingshuan's side, Shen Jingshuan's mother and Shen Jingshuan's brother had already rushed to Songning City overnight. At this moment, they were in the Shen family's villa. Shen Jingshuan's mood was a little heavy. He blamed himself a little. His sister had arranged a marriage with the Qin family for him. Of course, this was the fate of the children of aristocratic families. Although he felt that it wasn't good, he didn't stop it. He hoped that his sister could be happy in the future. After all, even if she didn't marry into the Qin family, she would still marry into other aristocratic families. The result would be the same. However, it was different now. After Qin Jinpeng raped Shen Jingxian, he was actually killed. Now, Shen Jingshuan's situation was very awkward. If Qin Jinpeng hadn't done that, then Shen Jingxian still had a lot of options. But for now, the Xia family was the best choice. Shen Jingshuan's mother went to comfort Shen Jingxian in the morning. She told her that although Chen Jinpeng was dead, the Xia family was not bad. Since Xia Chen was sincere, he would treat her well in the future. In fact, Shen Jingxian didn't care about these things. What Shen Jingshuan's mother didn't know was that she cared about Xiao Chen's thoughts and views. Chapter 325. Without Xiao Chen, although Shen Jingxian would be unhappy, she wouldn't be so unhappy. Anyway, there was not much difference between marrying Chen Jinpeng and marrying Xia Chen. It didn't matter if Xia Chen didn't despise her. At the very least, Shen Jingxian knew that there were many women from large clans who were indiscreet before marriage. After marriage, they married into clans of a lower class. There, not only were they not discriminated against or despised, but they also lived arrogantly every day. Shen Jingxian wasn't that kind of person, but she didn't worry about it. She was most worried about Xiao Chen now. Now, Shen Jingxian was a little disappointed. Did Xiao Chen really like me? If he liked me, would he care about this? Even if he did care, he didn't even comfort me. It had been so long, and he didn't show up. How could he really like me? Shen Jingxian sighed. Anyway, it was already like this. Shen Jingxian comforted her mother. Mom, don't worry about me. I'll be fine. It's fine to marry into the Xia family as long as they are good to the Shen family and my brother. Sister. You don't have to marry. I'm fine. At this time, Shen Jingmao couldn't help but push the door open and barge in. Sister, if you don't want to marry, then don't. Stay at home. I will support you in the future. I will use my own ability and strength to enter the upper management of the Shen family. Who said I don't want to? Shen Jingxian smiled. Silly brother, a woman will marry eventually. You don't have to worry about this. Shen Jingxian was very clear that the competition in this generation of the Shen family was too fierce. Originally, she was waiting for the day when Xiao Chen became powerful and asked Xiao Chen for help. But now, Xiao Chen didn't care about her. She would help as much as she could. Jingmao, you go out first. Don't get involved in this. Shen Zhenghao frowned. His son was too indecisive. If he was not decisive, how could he achieve great things? Shen Jingmao hesitated for a moment, but he still listened to his father and went out. His character was a little weak, and in fact, this kind of character was not the best candidate for the position of patriarch. However, there was no problem with his ability and strength, so under Shen Zhenghao's strong persuasion, he joined the competition for the position of young patriarch. Well, you pack up. The Xia family will come to propose marriage in a moment. Let's discuss this matter. Shen Zhenghao said. Yes, father. Shen Jingmao nodded. In the Xia family, Emperor Xia told his father and second uncle about Xia Chen's intention. Xia Chaonan had no opinion. Although Xia Xianbai felt that it was not good for his son to marry a second-hand woman, Chen Jinpeng was already dead. Moreover, Xia Chen liked her, and the Shen family was powerful. Naturally, he had nothing to say. Especially if Shen Jingxian got together with Xia Chen would undoubtedly enter the core of the Xia family's next generation. Even if it was not a patriarch like Emperor Xia, at least it would be the same status as him. He would naturally agree with it. However, at present, Shen Zhenghao did not agree immediately. I am afraid that he wants to see how much sincerity our Xia family can show. Emperor Xia analyzed. Yes, I feel that what Uncle Shen needs the most now are those medicinal herbs. If we can get those medicinal herbs, this matter will be easy to handle. Xia Chen knew his position. Although Shen Jingxian is no longer a virgin, to be honest, what is she in modern society? Especially since our Xia family is not an aristocratic family with ancient martial arts inheritance. We don't have those rules. If she can marry into the Xia family, it can be said that she is marrying into the Xia family. Xia Chen, you are now in charge of purchasing medicinal herbs. You should know that the medicinal herbs that Uncle Shen wants are rare and difficult to get. This is not something that can be done with money. Emperor Xia also knew that what Xia Chen said was right, but the key was that with the Xia family's ability, they could not get those medicinal herbs. This was beyond the Xia family's ability. Cousin, don't you know White Fox? Can he help to get some medicinal herbs? He is so powerful, he must have a wide network. If we can introduce him to Uncle Shen, it will be a great merit for us. Xia Chen suddenly said. I can consider this, but Hero White Fox might not help, right? Moreover, he is a psychic. It is a bit inappropriate to ask him to get medicinal herbs. Emperor Xia was a little hesitant. Although Xia Chen's suggestion was good, it was also a good thing for the Xia family. As long as this god was introduced to Shen Zhenghao would definitely be grateful to the Xia family. We can try. If White Fox agrees, it will be better. If not, we can't do anything, right? Xia Chen said. He had not personally met White Fox, so he did not have much fear of him. In his eyes, White Fox was at most a slightly more powerful trial taker of the warrior guild. Okay, then I will ask. Emperor Xia nodded, took out his phone and dialed White Fox's number. Hello? Emperor Xia? Xiao Chen was making breakfast for the Missy. Now that it was done, he picked up the phone and the hands on the other side did not stop. The phone flew into the air and stopped beside Xiao Chen's ear. It's me, White Fox. Are you busy? Emperor Xia asked carefully. Xia Chen disapproved of his cousin's cautiousness. Some things were like this. Hearsay was not as shocking as seeing it with one's own eyes, so he felt that his cousin was making a big fuss. I'm cooking. What's the matter? Xiao Chen asked. Xiao Chen's words made Emperor Xia a little confused. He did not know how to answer. In his eyes, White Fox was so high and mighty, but he actually cooked personally. Such a master, wouldn't there be a lot of beautiful girls serving him? What about his sister? Why didn't she serve him? Or did White Fox like to cook by himself? Emperor Xie? What's the matter? Xiao Chen saw that the other party did not speak, so he asked again. His relationship with Emperor Xia was not bad, so Xiao Chen was not impatient. White Fox, it's like this. Right now, we need a lot of precious medicinal herbs. I don't know if you have any way to help us buy them? Of course, the price is not a problem. As long as we can buy it, we can pay a little price. Emperor Xia said. Oh. Xiao Chen was a little surprised. He did not expect Emperor Xia to look for him for this matter. He suddenly did not know whether to laugh or cry. Isn't the Xia family the medicinal herb supplier of the warriors' market? They can't get it for me. They really think too highly of me. Once upon a time, Xiao Chen's Xiao family, in order to build a relationship with the Xia family, tried many ways but to no avail. In the eyes of the Xiao family, if they could use the Xia family to do business, the Xiao family would definitely make money. After all, the Xiao family's business was the weakest. Now, the Xia family turned to him for help. For a time, Xiao Chen felt a lot of emotions. He did not expect that after he left the Xiao family, there would be such an earth-shattering change. Some of the people who were originally aloof and unreachable were bowing in front of him. That. White Fox, don't be angry. I'm just asking. If it doesn't work, then forget it. I won't cause you any trouble. Hearing Xiao Chen's "oh," Emperor Xia's heart suddenly tightened. Oh, you can think about it. Let's see what you need first. Xiao Chen said. Okay. Are you free in a while? I'll call you and you can talk about it in detail. Emperor Xia said quickly. Okay. Xiao Chen agreed. Okay, see you in a while. When Emperor Xia saw that Xiao Chen agreed, he was overjoyed. He hung up the phone and said to Xia Chen, I have already talked to White Fox. He agreed. He should be able to help us solve the medicinal herbs on it. That's great. This time, the Shen family will definitely agree to my request. Xia Chen was also very happy. At this time, he felt that this white fox was really powerful. This kind of opportunity to make money, Xiao Chen naturally wouldn't let go of it. He hung up the phone and prepared breakfast. Missy and Yi Xiaoya had already woken up and came down to eat. These ingredients were bought by Yi Xiaoya, so she was naturally qualified to eat. Missy was washing her face and trying to wake up. Yi Xiaoya had already started eating at the table, and she ate very quickly. Cheng Menjing inadvertently glanced at her and suddenly became anxious. Hey, are you a pig? Why are you eating so quickly? Don't finish it all. I still have to eat. First come, first served. Who told you to dawdle? Yi Xiaoya said as she finished a bowl of noodles and then filled another bowl. You. Cheng Menjing originally wanted to brush her teeth, but she suddenly threw away her teacup. She ran over and picked up a bowl of noodles. She sat opposite of Yi Xiaoya and stared at Yi Xiaoya. She didn't have the gentlemanly demeanor that she used to have when eating. She directly stuffed the noodles into her mouth. Soon, she and Yi Xiaoya finished a bowl of noodles. Both of them stood up at the same time and scooped noodles into the pot. In the past, Missy ate a bowl of noodles in the morning, and Yi Xiaoya at most 2 bowls. But today, Yi Xiaoya ate 3 bowls, and Missy ate 2 bowls. Xiao Chen saw that there was only soup left in the pot, and he couldn't help but be dumbfounded. Anyway, he wouldn't starve to death. He had thought that this would be enough. He didn't expect the current situation. After the meal, Jean Bebe drove the nouveau riche car to pick up the young mistress to go to school. Her car had already been repaired, while Xiao Chen drove his Land Rover to school. Xiao Chen, how's your cultivation going? Have you started to produce weak demonic energy in your body? Yi Xiaoya stopped Xiao Chen and asked. Demonic energy, not yet. Xiao Chen was telling the truth. There was no demonic energy in his body, only pneuma. Oh. Yi Xiaoya was a little disappointed. Forget it. Work hard. Okay. Xiao Chen nodded and drove away. He was a little confused. Why did Yi Xiaoya care so much about his cultivation? Xiao Chen didn't go to school directly. Instead, he went to Little Hong's pharmacy. Today was the day to buy medicine again. Usually, Xiao Chen came to buy medicine at night. But he had something to do today, so he came in the morning. Chapter 326. You're here. Hongzhu yawned and opened the door. Where's old Lu? Xiao Chen was a little disappointed when he didn't see Lu Fengzhen. He thought that Lu Fengzhen would be here to swindle another medicinal herb. You want to be free again? No way this time. Hongzhu snorted. Old Lu went to the countryside to pick herbs. Why don't you wait a few days? Then we won't wait any longer. Xiao Chen handed a prescription that he had prepared to Hongzhu. It was a new prescription. Hongzhu glanced at the medicinal herbs on it and then indifferently said a number, 10 million. Pfft. Xiao Chen was shocked. I say, Hongzhu, can you not cheat me? Who's cheating you? This is a favor price. Look at the medicinal herbs in your prescription. Danxiu grass and Jinlong ridge leaf, these 2 herbs are worth 4 million. There are others, take a look yourself. Hongzhu pointed at the prescription and said to Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen curled his lips. These herbs were indeed new, but he didn't know if they were that expensive. He felt that Hongzhu was a little unhappy today. Hey, what's wrong with you today? Nothing, I can't be in a bad mood. Hongzhu said. Why are you in a bad mood? Xiao Chen wanted to find the right medicine to ease Hongzhu's mood and then ask her to give him a cheaper price. Why? Do you want me to take off my pants for you to see? Hongzhu glared at Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen was stunned. However, he immediately understood that Hongzhu was on her period. What do you want it or not? If not, I'll lie down for a while. Hongzhu said weakly. Yes. Xiaochen had no choice but to throw out the bait. Do you want to make money? Yes, but you won't let me make money. Your price is the lowest. Otherwise, old Lu will come back and talk endlessly. I really didn't cheat you. Hongzhu said. It's not that. I have a business deal. Someone wants some precious medicinal herbs. Can you get them? The price is negotiable. Xiaochen said. Precious medicinal herbs. Hongzhu was just about to say that precious medicinal herbs were not so easy to obtain, but when he heard Xiaochen say that the price was negotiable, he immediately became spirited. Really? The price is negotiable? Even double the market price? Even 3 times is fine. Xiaochen nodded. Really? Fine, then hurry up and give me the list of herbs he wants. I'll get it for you. Hongzhu licked his lips, looking like a little greedy cat. Get it out for me? Xiaochen felt a slight ripple in his heart as he looked at Hongzhu's appearance. He didn't know if Hongzhu was deliberately trying to seduce him or if it was unintentional. In truth, Hongzhu had really done it on purpose this time. She had tried to seduce Xiaochen several times, but when she saw that he didn't take the bait, she stopped trying. Especially since she wasn't feeling too well today, how could she be in the mood to seduce him? What about my herbs? Xiaochen said. Hongzhu waved his hand and said indifferently, I'll give it to you. It's just a small change. What about in the future? Xiaochen asked. It depends on how big your list is. Hongzhu said and began to hop and skip to get the herbs for Xiaochen. His stomach also didn't hurt anymore. Okay, then wait for my news. Xiaochen nodded, hoping that Emperor Xia would buy more. I'll give it to you, but don't lie to me. Otherwise, I won't sell you any more herbs next time. Hongzhu warned. No way, we've already cooperated once. Am I that kind of person? Xiaochen said. Okay, then I'll wait for your good news. Hongzhu nodded. After leaving Little Hong's pharmacy, Xiaochen got on the car, but in his heart, he was thinking, what kind of mysterious background does this small pharmacy have that it can actually get so many rare medicinal herbs? It's even more powerful than the Xia family? It seems that I'm really lucky to have encountered such a pharmacy at the beginning of cultivation. If I went to other pharmacies, I probably wouldn't be able to get all the herbs. I haven't even stepped into the first level of the refinement stage yet. Early in the morning, in order to express the sincerity of the Xia family, Emperor Xia brought Xia Chen to the Shen family's villa. Unexpectedly, he saw Shen Jingshuan's younger brother, Shen Jingmao, and Shen Jingshuan's mother. They didn't expect that they would also come. After Emperor Xia and Xia Chen politely greeted them one by one, Shen Zhenghao came out and invited them to sit on the sofa. He said, "You 2 nephews came early, this is," Shen Zhenghao asked knowingly, but Emperor Xia didn't care. After all, when it came to marriage proposals, it was usually the man who made the first proposal. How could the woman take the initiative to propose? Therefore, Emperor Xia smiled slightly and said, "Uncle Shen, I came this time to bring good news. Our Xia family accidentally met an extraordinary person. This person is quite powerful. Today, I came to introduce this person to Uncle Shen." "Oh? Who is it?" Shen Zhenghao was slightly surprised. "Uncle Shen should be very clear about our Xia family's previous situation, right? We were constantly attacked by the Sun family, and we couldn't hold on any longer." Emperor Xia said. "Yes, later, several people from the Sun family died inexplicably, and then the Xia family turned defeat into victory, turning the situation around. I don't know why nephew Xia mentioned this matter." Shen Zhenghao nodded, but he asked curiously, "Could it be because of the extraordinary person you mentioned?" "It's this person." Emperor Xia nodded and said, "If it weren't for this person, our Xia family would really be finished. But with him, our Xia family was able to turn the situation around." Emperor Xia didn't say too much detail. Of course, the details were up to Shen Zhenghao's own speculation. What he said now was mainly to let Shen Zhenghao know how powerful the White Fox hero was. So that's how it is. Shen Zhenghao couldn't help but be amazed after listening. Emperor Xie didn't need to lie to him, so this person really made Shen Zhenghao look forward to it. He has the ability to get the medicinal herbs on my list? Yes. Emperor Xie nodded. He said before that we can consider it. The White Fox hero generally doesn't lie. Whatever he said, he will do it. That's great. Shen Zhenghao was suddenly overjoyed. But, such a powerful person, will he help us? What price do we have to pay? Uncle Shen, since everyone is so familiar, I won't hide it from you. My sister, Xie Fei, is the woman of the White Fox hero. Emperor Xie said mysteriously and proudly. The purpose of saying this was to tell Shen Zhenghao that the White Fox hero came because of the Xie family's face. Oh. Shen Zhenghao nodded quickly, but then he suddenly remembered that Xie Fei seemed to be married. Wasn't he using the route of Xie Fei's husband to get in touch with Emperor Xie? Xie imperial nephew, isn't your sister already married? How? You are talking about Wang Xiongzhuang, right? He doesn't dare to touch my sister. He also knows the White Fox hero and has received the White Fox hero's kindness. Although Emperor Xie didn't know what kind of kindness Wang Xiongzhuang had received, he knew from Xie Fei that Wang Xiongzhuang didn't dare to interfere with the White Fox hero's matters. Moreover, Wang Xiongzhuang was in awe of the White Fox hero. So that's how it is. Shen Zhenghao came to a sudden realization and said, no wonder. Does that mean hero White Fox has other women? That's for sure. Emperor Xie didn't care at all. Such a powerful person, I'm afraid he has many women, right? Uncle Shen, when you see the White Fox hero later, don't talk nonsense. He is an existence that can kill without leaving a trace. Oh. Really? Shen Zhenghao was a little surprised. He was also a powerful martial artist. In Songning City, it could be said that he wasn't afraid of anyone, and he didn't need to be too respectful. However, listening to Emperor Xie, he felt a little obedient. After all, the Shen family was also a great existence. It was a provincial ancient martial arts family. In Songning City, it couldn't be said to be the leader, but it was still one of the best. Uncle Shen is also a smart person. Think about how the Sun family was finished. Emperor Xie said mysteriously, but he refused to say more. Shen Zhenghao's heart trembled. The Sun family died on horseback. Shen Zhenghao still knew about this news. At that time, he was puzzled. One person dying on horseback was nothing. Two people could be said to be a coincidence, but was three still a coincidence? Who did the Sun family offend to be so miserable? Although it seemed to be an accident on the surface, Shen Zhenghao guessed that they must have offended a ruthless person with such sharp means. Now it seemed that it was all because of the White Fox hero that Emperor Xie mentioned. Well, this time, thank you, nephew Emperor. You introduced an expert to our family. Shen Zhenghao was now thinking that this person was really as powerful as Emperor Xie said. If he had a good relationship with him, it would definitely be a great help to him and Xinjing Mao. Such a powerful person could not only kill people invisibly, but also get some medicinal herbs that others couldn't get. What kind of background and strength did he have to be able to do so? Could it be that he was sent by those big sects? Well said, well said. Right, my younger brother, Xia Chen, fell in love with Uncle Shen's daughter, Shen Jingxian. This time, my other purpose of coming here is to act as a lobbyist. I want to see if I can persuade Uncle Shen to let your daughter marry into our Xie family. Emperor Xie said his purpose this time. The previous White Fox hero was a bait. He didn't believe that Shen Zhenghao could refuse such a huge benefit in front of him. Sure enough, Shen Zhenghao pretended to be a little surprised. He pondered for a moment and said, Nephew Xia Chen is a good person. In principle, I have no opinion because I am also very satisfied. However, after all, Qin Jinpeng just died, and Jingshuan's emotions are not very stable. Why don't you two get to know each other first? Yes. Xia Qin quickly agreed. It was unrealistic for Shen Zhenghao to agree at once. After all, the benefits of the White Fox hero were still an empty promise. However, listening to Shen Zhenghao's words, it could be considered as a promise. As long as the White Fox hero was willing, this matter would basically be settled. Okay, then this matter is settled. Jingshuan's mood is not very good. Let's forget about it today. She is upstairs and won't come. You can ask her to go for a walk another day. Shen Zhenghao suggested. Chapter 327. Thank you, Uncle Shen. Xia Chen was overjoyed and nodded repeatedly. And, nephew Xia Huang, about the White Fox hero you mentioned. Shen Zhenghao looked at Xia Huang. Uncle Shen, I'll call him now. You see, I was so focused on talking about Xia Chen that I almost forgot about the important matter. Xia Emperor quickly apologized, then took out his mobile phone and dialed the White Fox hero's number. Xia Huang. Xiao Chen picked up the phone. Is it about the medicinal herbs? Yes, White Fox hero. How is it? Is there a problem? Xia Huang asked. I thought about it. There's no problem. If the price is right, you can have any medicinal herbs you want. Xiao Chen was confident with Hongzhu's guarantee. Ah, that's great. Can you come now and we can talk about it in detail? Xia Huang asked happily. Sure, where? Xiao Chen asked. Qingshui Wharf Seascape Villa District. You can come to the gate. I'll go out and welcome you now. Xia Huang said. Okay. Xiao Chen replied. Isn't Qingshui Wharf Seascape Villa District where Goddess Shen lives? I wonder how Goddess Shen is. He wanted to call her, but he was afraid that Shen Zhenghao would see it and bring trouble to Shen Jingxian. Xiao Chen could only hold back for the time being. Shen Jingxian should still be angry, right? After a few days, when she calmed down, he would find a way to contact her. Anyway, Qin Jinpeng was dead and her engagement was over. Xiao Chen was not in a hurry. Xiao Chen drove to Qingshui Wharf Seascape Villa District. After Xia Huang hung up the phone, he said to Shen Zhenghao, the White Fox hero has agreed to come. I'll go to the gate to welcome him now. Ah, okay, then should I go too? Shen Zhenghao asked. Uncle Shen, don't go first. After all, we don't know each other. It's a bit abrupt if you go. Wait until I bring him here and we get to know each other. Xia Huang said after some thought. All right. Shen Zhenghao was quite thankful to the emperor. After all, he did not understand Hero White Fox's character and was afraid that he would say the wrong thing. Emperor Xia waited for more than 20 minutes before Xiao Chen arrived. He didn't drive the Land Rover because it was too conspicuous, especially when it appeared in Shen Jingshuan's villa area. So, he parked nearby and walked directly with his mask on. Great Hero White Fox. When Emperor Xia saw Xiao Chen, he immediately got off the carriage to welcome him. Xiao Chen nodded and got into Xia Huang's car. Hero White Fox, thank you for giving me face this time. The Xia Emperor was very happy. It seemed that the relationship between the Xia family and the White Fox hero was quite good. The White Fox hero didn't refuse his request. It seemed that it was due to his little sister's efforts. Otherwise, the White Fox hero wouldn't have come here so easily. Oh, it's mutually beneficial. Xiao Chen said indifferently, what herbs do you need this time? This is the list. Can you take a look? The Xia Emperor handed the list that Shen Zhenghao gave to the Xia family to Xiao Chen. After Xiao Chen took a look, he was a little surprised because some of the herbs on the list actually overlapped with the beginner herbs that he used for cultivation before. He also needed bitter fruit on this list. However, after looking at it, Xiao Chen was also relieved. These herbs shouldn't be a problem for Hongzhu. Even if he couldn't get all of them, he could get most of them. How is it? Hero White Fox, can you get the herbs? Asked the Xia Emperor. Most of them are fine. A few need to be confirmed, but it's not a big problem. Xiao Chen put down the list and nodded. Then, I'll have to trouble Hero White Fox. While talking, the car had stopped at the door of the Shen family's villa. When Xiao Chen raised his head, he was stunned. Isn't this goddess Shen's home? Why did the Xia Emperor bring me here? Previously, he had been looking at the list and didn't pay attention to the road, so he only found the problem after arriving. Hero White Fox, please, this is the place. The Xia Emperor got off the car and opened the door for Xiao Chen. He made a gesture to invite him in. This is the place? Xiao Chen pointed to the Shen family's villa in front of him and asked calmly. Yes, this is the place. This is a friend of our Xia family. He needs the herbs, said the Xia Emperor. The Shen family? Asked Hero White Fox. Oh. The Xia Emperor was stunned, but then he smiled and said, it seems that nothing can be hidden from Hero White Fox. Yes, this is indeed the Shen family. Hero White Fox, you and the Shen family. The Xia Emperor just thought that Hero White Fox was omnipotent and knew everything, but he was a little worried that Hero White Fox would have a grudge against the Shen family. That would be a little F***ed up. Oh, of course, I know all the famous families in Songning City. Xiao Chen said indifferently. He didn't show that he had too much relationship with the Shen family. This made the Xia Emperor feel relieved. As long as Hero White Fox didn't have any relationship with the Shen family, then this matter should be able to be completed. Hero White Fox, please come in. The Xia Emperor quickly opened the door for Xiao Chen and let Xiao Chen in. Although Xiao Chen didn't show it on the surface, he was actually a little surprised. He was worried that he couldn't find any news about Goddess Shen. Now, he had the opportunity to visit her. Although their identities were different, it didn't hinder his investigation. Hero White Fox. I've heard a lot about you. Shen Zhenghao took the lead to greet him. He respectfully and enthusiastically shook hands with Xiao Chen. He had to do so. After all, he was asking for help. If Hero White Fox could really get all the medicinal herbs, it would prove that Hero White Fox's identity was definitely not ordinary. He must be a disciple of one of the big sections. Therefore, his identity as a collateral relative of the Shen family was nothing in front of the disciples of the big sections. Xiao Chen nodded indifferently. In his heart, he was extremely excited. Is this my father-in-law? Let me introduce myself. I'm Shen Zhenghao from the Shen family. Welcome to my humble home, Hero White Fox. It's really an honor. Shen Zhenghao introduced his identity. I know that your daughter, Shen Jingxian, is the goddess of the masses. Xiao Chen said. Ah. Shen Zhenghao was stunned. He didn't understand why Hero White Fox would talk about his daughter. However, he still nodded and said, that's what the younger generation said. My daughter is just a common girl. She's not a goddess of the masses. Xiao Chen's words made Xia Huang and Xia Chen a little puzzled. They didn't know if it was a compliment or a dissatisfaction with the Shen family. Fortunately, after Xiao Chen finished speaking, he didn't say anything else. He directly sat on the main seat of the guest seat on the sofa, a proud aura emanating from him. Of course, Xiao Chen didn't deliberately show anything, but his coldness naturally made people feel that it was a kind of aura. Let's talk business. I don't like to talk nonsense. After Xiao Chen sat down, he said directly, I can have the medicinal herbs, but what's the price? I can have it? Shen Zhenghao's breathing tightened. Although he heard Xia Huang exaggerate before, he didn't personally get the promise from Hero White Fox. He didn't think that those medicinal herbs could really be obtained. But now, Hero White Fox personally promised. He calmed down and said, as long as I can get the medicinal herbs, Hero White Fox can name the price. Let me first ask how many medicinal herbs are currently available and see the price. Xiao Chen directly took out his mobile phone and dialed the number of the pharmacy. Hello? Little Hong's pharmacy. Hong Zhu's voice had a charm that moved people's hearts. Although it was a little lazy, that casual tone always made men crazy. However, Xiao Chen didn't have the mood to think about this. He said directly, "It's me. I'll read the medicinal herbs to you. See if there are any, how much is it, and give me a price." Hong Zhu was surprised at first. After all, this voice was a little unfamiliar and she had never heard it before. But after listening to a few sentences, she knew who it was. It was undoubtedly Xiao Chen, but he might be using another identity to trade with others. Thus, she said, "Okay, tell me." Orchid snake tail, netherspirit grass, dreamy creek bamboo, bitter fruit. Xiao Chen read out the types of medicinal herbs to Hong Zhu. After a while, Hong Zhu said, "Some of them are in stock, and the rest can be ordered." "No problem. How many do you want?" "Some of them are in stock, and the rest can be ordered." "How many do you want?" Xiao Chen directly raised his head to look at Shen Zhenghao. "Ah. Really? Then of course I want as many as you have." After listening to Xiao Chen's words, Shen Zhenghao's heart almost exploded. He actually had all of them. He could even get engaged. And he was actually asking how many he wanted. What kind of amazing background and connections did he have to be able to obtain all of this? Even the president of the warrior guild did not have such ability, right? "I want as many as you have," Xiao Chen said to Hong Zhu. Then he would have to go bankrupt. Even if he tore down his house, he wouldn't be able to store all of them. Hong Zhu curled her lips. Xiao Chen did not know whether to laugh or cry. However, perhaps Hong Zhu was right. Xiao Chen felt that this little Hong's medicine store was quite amazing. Thus, he said, "That's enough. What we have now, give me a price." "Okay, I'll go check it out and then send a message to your number," Hong Zhu said. "And then I'll wait for you." Xiao Chen hung up and said to Shen Zhenghao, "Wait a moment, when do you want them?" "Of course, the sooner the better." Shen Zhenghao was incomparably excited. "Oh, then I'll sell you a portion first," Xiao Chen said. Okay. Shen Zhenghao was trembling a little. Wasn't this too awesome? Even he himself could not believe it. Could great hero White Fox be lying to him? However, Shen Zhenghao couldn't think of the reason why the White Fox hero would lie to him. There was no point in lying. If he couldn't produce the herbs, he wouldn't pay a single cent. Wouldn't the White Fox hero's efforts be in vain? Not to mention, his reputation would be ruined. Not long after, Xiao Chen received a message on his cell phone. Although it was from an unknown number, Xiao Chen knew that it was Hong Zhu's private number. Chapter 328. The number and price of some of the medicinal herbs were listed in the message. Although it wasn't a lot, it was still a sky-high price. The price is here. Currently, there are 2 Hualan snake tails, 40 million. 3 Lingming grass, 80 million. 5 Ku Ji fruits, 200 million. Xiao Chen reported the price of several medicinal herbs. He directly multiplied the price given by Hong Zhu by 2. Even so, he still felt that it was cheap. After all, these things were all good things that had a price but no supply. In any case, the Shen family was rich. He couldn't lose Hong Zhu just because the other party was his father-in-law, right? As long as Hong Zhu made money, wouldn't the medicinal herbs he used in the future be given to him for free? However, Xiao Chen also realized how cheap and discounted the medicinal herbs that Hong Yan, Hong Zhu, Elder Chen, and Elder Lu sold to him. They sold them to Shen Zhenghao at a sky-high price. So much? When Xiao Chen finished reading, Shen Zhenghao's eyes widened in shock. "You think it's too expensive?" Xiao Chen asked. No, Hero White Fox, please don't misunderstand." Shen Zhenghao was shocked and quickly said, "I mean, you can actually get so many medicinal herbs. Just this alone is enough to shock me. Can I order others that you don't have? Yes. Xiao Chen shook his head inwardly. This was considered a lot. He had already eaten more than this. It seemed that his demand wasn't that big. However, the price was really not cheap. This price is already very favorable. Seeing that you are introduced by Emperor Xia, I have already given you a 50% discount. Yes, I know. Shen Zhenghao quickly said, if I buy these in the Warriors Market Square, I can't buy them at all. I need points to exchange for them there. No matter how much I pay, they won't sell them to me. Moreover, even with points, many of them are priceless. The Shen family didn't lack money. Shen Zhenghao didn't need to worry about the purchase of medicinal herbs. Therefore, even if Xiao Chen's price was higher, he could still easily accept it. After all, the second grandfather of Shen Jingxian was in seclusion. If he could make a breakthrough, then the status of the Shen family would become more and more stable. This amount of money was nothing. It's good that you know. Xiao Chen inwardly said. The Shen family was really rich. Fortunately, he had a good relationship with Hongzhu. Otherwise, his cultivation materials would have already caused him to be in debt. Now, after listening to Shen Zhenghao's words, Xiao Chen was filled with gratitude towards Hong Yan, Hongzhu, Old Chen, and Old Lu. If it weren't for them on his path of cultivation, he wouldn't even be able to afford a single set of medicine if he relied solely on buying medicine from the martial artists' market. Then, when will it be delivered to me? Shen Zhenghao was somewhat anxious as he looked at Xiao Chen and asked. You want them now? Okay, I'll get someone to deliver them. Xiao Chen said and sent a text message to Hongzhu, asking her to find someone to deliver the medicinal herbs. He also told her the address. Okay. Hongzhu trusted Xiao Chen and didn't mention the matter of money. Now? Deliver them? Shen Zhenghao couldn't stay calm. Could these medicinal herbs be in Songning City? Could they be delivered directly? But it was impossible. These medicinal herbs were only sold in Songning City's Warriors Market. He had never heard of any big families or sects in this city. What's wrong? You don't have money now? Xiao Chen asked curiously. No. Then please deliver them. Shen Zhenghao felt that this white fox hero was really a godly person. He couldn't help but envy the Xia family. A woman could have a good relationship with white fox hero? However, if Qin Jinpeng hadn't done that to Shen Jingxian, she might have been able to follow white fox hero, right? But now, he might not be interested in a ruined flower. From Shen Zhenghao's point of view, since Wang Xiongzhuang knew white fox hero, then concubine Xia had probably always been white fox hero's woman and had nothing to do with Wang Xiongzhuang. Her marriage with Wang Xiongzhuang was probably just a cover-up. It was a way for the Wang and Xia families to curry favor with white fox or achieve some other goal. Of course, he didn't know the specifics. Because he felt that with white fox hero's strength, there was no need for him to marry a ruined woman. There was a delivery person in the Warriors Market who was sent by Tai Muching with a phone call. Hongzhu had already packed the package. He didn't know what it was, but it was delivered directly to the Shen family's villa. In just over 20 minutes, the package arrived. Shen Zhenghao couldn't believe it. He even wondered if he was dreaming. With a heart full of excitement and anxiety, Shen Zhenghao watched as Xiao Chen opened the package. His eyes almost popped out of their sockets. Inside the package were the medicinal herbs he wanted. Shen Zhenghao had been collecting these medicinal herbs for a long time. He could distinguish the authenticity and quality at a glance. The medicinal herbs that White Fox Hero brought were all of the best quality. The quality of those obtained from Songning City's Warriors Market was a grade lower than these. These were definitely not the goods that could be obtained through ordinary channels. At this moment, Shen Zhenghao was completely convinced. In his heart, White Fox Hero had suddenly become an existence that could surpass the entire Shen family. White Fox Hero, how do you think I should pay you? Shen Zhenghao asked with a trembling voice. Although Shen Zhenghao didn't say whether these medicinal herbs were real or fake, Xia Huang and Xia Chen could tell from his expression that these medicinal herbs were definitely real. Otherwise, Shen Zhenghao wouldn't be in such a hurry to pay. Transfer the money to my Warriors Guild account, Songning White Fox, Xiao Chen said. Alright, these medicinal herbs are worth a total of 670 million yuan. I will transfer 700 million yuan to you directly, and the remaining 30 million will be my gift to you. Shen Zhenghao said straightforwardly. He wasn't short of money. What he lacked was connections. 30 million yuan in exchange for a good impression from White Fox Hero was quite worth it. Oh. Xiao Chen responded faintly. He didn't show how happy he was about the 30 million yuan. However, the more he did so, the more Shen Zhenghao felt that he was unfathomable. At this moment, Xia Huang also deeply admired White Fox Hero. Previously, he only thought that White Fox Hero's strength was superb, but now it seemed that his connections were also quite impressive. As Shen Zhenghao spoke, he used his mobile phone to transfer the money. Soon, Xiao Chen received a notification from the Warriors Guild app. His account had received 700 million yuan. Great hero White Fox, when do you think we can get the rest of the medicinal ingredients? Shen Zhenghao asked carefully. Wait for a few days. I will contact you when it arrives, Xiao Chen said. Alright, this is my business card. Shen Zhenghao handed his business card to Xiao Chen with both hands and said, when the goods arrive, you can call me and I will pick them up. Do you want me to give you the deposit first? There's no need. We will talk about it when the time comes. Xiao Chen casually took the name card, but he took it with both hands, which made Shen Zhenghao a little surprised. It seemed that hero White Fox was quite polite to him. At this moment, footsteps came from the stairs of the villa. They looked up and saw that it was Shen Jingxian, accompanied by Shen Jingmao. However, she didn't go to the living room. She didn't even look at the people in the living room. Shen Jingxian walked in the direction of the villa's entrance. Xiao Chen's heart moved slightly. He subconsciously wanted to call out to her, but he still held back. At this moment, he was White Fox. If he called out, everything would be exposed. Now, whether it was the Xia family or the Shen family, they respected him. Although his strength was one of the reasons, the most important thing was his illusory and mysterious background. It made people suspect him and show his respected status. If people knew that he was Xiao Chen now, perhaps after the mysterious veil was lifted, people would not respect him as they did now. Instead, they would do everything possible to kill him. Especially the enemy hidden behind the scenes. One had to know that Xiao Chen had never left Songning City since he was a child. It was impossible for him to be a demonic cultivator, let alone a superpower user. If he was, why would the Xiao family drive him out? This was not logical at all. It was even more impossible for him to condescend to be Qing Menjing's male servant. If Xiao Chen was really so powerful, it was impossible for the Xiao family to drive Xiao Chen out even if they fought to the death. Of course, only Xiao Chen himself knew the logic behind this. After all, when Xiao Chen was driven out of the Xiao family, he did not have any strength. However, this kind of thing could not be explained. From an outsider's point of view, it was unreasonable for you to be chased out because you had the strength. If you were not the White Fox hero, but the trash Xiao Chen, then you would naturally lose the mystery and fear you had before. Therefore, Xiao Chen just glanced at Shen Jingxian and said, Mr. Shen, your daughter is really beautiful. Shen Zhenghao was stunned again. This was the second time that White Fox hero said his daughter was beautiful. This made him a little confused. What did this mean? However, on the surface, he still nodded and said, Hee, White Fox hero, you flatter me. Xia Huang didn't think much of it. He thought that White Fox hero was just being polite. He was concerned about Xia Chen, so he said to Xia Chen, you go and accompany Jingxian. She is in a bad mood. At this time, you should go and comfort her. Only then will you have a chance. After that, Xia Huang looked at Shen Zhenghao. Seeing that Shen Zhenghao nodded without any objection, he was relieved. On the other side, Xiao Chen was a little puzzled. He turned his head and looked at Xie Huang, then asked, why is he accompanying Shen Jingxian? White Fox Hero, it's like this. Our Xie family wants to marry the Shen family. My brother, Xie Chen, admires Uncle Shen's daughter. Xie Huang explained. Marriage? Xiao Chen suddenly sneered and said, forget about this matter. Shen Jingxian is not suitable for him. Huh? When the Xia Emperor heard Xiao Chen's sudden words, he was stunned. He did not understand what was going on. Xia Chen's face also changed. He couldn't help but say, Mr. White Fox, aren't you being too nosy? You were invited by my brother to help the Shen family buy medicinal herbs. Do you want to meddle in this private matter? Xie Huang's heart skipped a beat. No matter what White Fox Hero's purpose was, Xia Chen shouldn't oppose it. White Fox Hero's words were not that easy to refute. Chapter 329. Oh. Xiao Chen turned his head and looked at Xie Chen coldly. The teacup on the table flew into the air without warning and directly hit Xie Chen's head. Bang! Although Xie Chen was also a martial artist, he was only a stage 1 inner force martial artist. When he was caught off guard, his head was smashed until it bled. Of course, he did not have any experience. Xiao Chen's attack was also very abrupt. Moreover, he did not expect the teacup to rise into the air by itself. This was not realistic at all. Therefore, Xie Chen was dumbfounded. He covered his forehead and was at a loss. He even forgot to shout. He stood there in a daze with a face full of disbelief. White Fox Hero, please calm down. Xie Huang was so scared that he trembled. This was the first time he saw White Fox Hero's ability. He could actually make the teacup fly into the air and hit someone without warning. What a terrifying ability. If it was a teacup, it would be fine. If it was a dagger and directly stabbed into the heart, wouldn't he be dead? After he finished speaking, he turned his head and glared at Xie Chen. Hurry up and apologize to White Fox Hero. If White Fox Hero says it's not suitable, then it's not suitable. Ah. Yes, yes. Xie Chen was also frightened. He lowered his head. Although he didn't dare to say a word, his eyes flashed with a touch of resentment. However, no one noticed it. White Fox Hero, I'm sorry. I was wrong. Shen Jingxian and I are not suitable. You're right, you're right. Xiao Chen nodded lightly. If you think that anyone can ask me to cooperate with them, then you're wrong. It's not a problem to pay for simple things. Like your family's matters, it's not something that can be settled with a little money. You also know who I'm looking for. Yes, yes, White Fox Hero. You're looking for my sister. Xie Huang quickly said. It's good that you know. Don't think too highly of yourself. Xiao Chen glanced at Xie Huang and said coldly, if there are any dissenting voices in your family, future cooperation will end here. It won't happen again. Xie Emperor quickly promised, in the Xie family, my words can be represented. All right. After speaking, Xiao Chen looked at Shen Zhenghao and said, that's it for now. I'll contact you when the rest of the ingredients arrive. All right, all right. Shen Zhenghao was also scared out of his wits. He was born in a big family like the Shen family, so he had seen many things, but this was the first time he had seen someone who could directly attack people with an object out of thin air. This was really a paranormal, completely different from a martial artist. Xiao Chen did not stay any longer. He stood up and prepared to leave. Emperor Xie hurriedly walked over and said, White Fox, shall I send you out? No need. Let Mr. Shen send me. Xiao Chen pointed at Shen Zhenghao and said. Ah, okay, no problem. Shen Zhenghao was overjoyed. Previously, Xie Chen's actions scared him out of his wits. He thought that he had angered White Fox. Could the cooperation continue in the future? But now it seemed that White Fox seemed to have a good impression of him, so Shen Zhenghao immediately picked up the car key and said to Xia Huang and Xia Chen, "My two nephews, please wait for a moment. I will send White Fox off." "Okay, Uncle Shen." Although Xia Huang was a little disappointed, it seemed that this marriage was impossible. He now seemed to have a vague feeling that something was wrong. Previously, White Fox said twice that Shen Zhenghao's daughter, which was Shen Jingxian, was beautiful. Could it be that White Fox had taken a fancy to Shen Zhenghao's daughter? Now that he thought about it, it should be so. Otherwise, White Fox would not have suddenly become angry. Xiao Chen took the lead, and Shen Zhenghao followed him out of the villa. When they left, Xia Chen raised his head unwillingly and looked at Xia Huang. His eyes were filled with unwillingness. "Brother, are we just going to let this matter go?" "Let it go?" Xia Huang sneered. His tone ignited some hope in Xia Chen, but the latter words made Xia Chen feel as if a bucket of cold water was poured on him. "I don't know if White Fox can let it go. If he has a bad impression of the Xia family, our previous emotional investment will be completely gone. Could it be that you still don't want to let it go? How many lives do you have? Didn't you see White Fox's ability? If he wanted to kill you, he didn't even need to lift a finger. How did the Sun family die? It was all because of the wind. White Fox didn't even do anything to them, and he killed them without leaving a trace." "Yes." Xia Chen lowered his head. His heart was full of humiliation and anger. "No, I can't accept it." In his opinion, it was White Fox who snatched his woman, but he didn't think that White Fox had hinted a few times before, and he didn't take it seriously. "All right, Xia Chen, you can choose not to cooperate with the Shen family, but you can't with White Fox. If it weren't for White Fox's protection, our Xia family wouldn't be so prosperous. At this moment, we would have been destroyed by the Sun family." Xia Huang saw it very clearly. "Since White Fox has taken a fancy to Shen Jingxian, you shouldn't have this idea. Not only will you harm yourself, but you will also harm the Xia family." "I understand." Xia Chen clenched his fists. "White Fox, please." Shen Zhenghao opened the door and let Xiao Chen get in. Where's your daughter?" Xiao Chen asked. Shen Zhenghao wasn't a fool. This was the third time White Fox asked about Shen Jingxian. Previously, he was angry because of Shen Jingxian and Xia Chen's marriage. How could he not guess what was going on? She might be walking around in the yard. Shen Zhenghao said, "White Fox, why don't I take you to find her?" "All right." Xiao Chen nodded. Shen Zhenghao started the car excitedly. At this moment, his heart was about to explode. He didn't expect that White Fox would take a fancy to Shen Jingxian. Previously, he had thought about whether he could use marriage to gain the White Fox hero's friendship. However, his daughter was no longer a virgin. He estimated that White Fox would dislike it. As for the other women in the Shen family, marriage wouldn't bring any benefits to Shen Zhenghao. Instead, it might hinder Shen Jingmao's ascension, so he didn't mention it. But now, Shen Zhenghao was 80% sure that White Fox was interested in Shen Jingxian. Although he didn't know if it was just for fun, or if it was a long-term relationship. Of course, Shen Zhenghao didn't think that White Fox would accept Shen Jingxian as a girlfriend or wife. In his opinion, it wasn't realistic. Why would he marry a second-hand good? But even so, Shen Zhenghao felt that it was enough. If Shen Jingxian really hooked up with White Fox, then Shen Jingmao would ascend to the throne without a doubt. With White Fox's strength and background, who would dare to say no to the Shen family? "White Fox, how old are you this year? It's really admirable to have such great strength and background." Shen Zhenghao said in an ingratiating manner, "Compared to you, I've lived for so many years in vain." 18. Xiao Chen said faintly, "There's nothing to compare. Mr. Shen is a talented man, and he has a beautiful daughter." Ha! Shen Zhenghao was finally sure that White Fox was 100% interested in Shen Jingxian. Otherwise, it would be impossible for him to talk about his daughter. But the more it was so, the happier he was. The previous sentence was actually to test White Fox's age. If he was in his 70s or 80s, although Shen Jingxian could help the Shen family and Shen Jingmao by following him, it would be too much of a trap for Shen Jingxian. Now, he was finally relieved. At the same time, he secretly admired White Fox. He was only 18 years old, but he had such strength. Those outstanding young people were trash compared to him. Mr. Shen, do you plan to find another husband for Jingxian? Xiao Chen asked. No. Shen Zhenghao said, originally, I thought that Xia Chen of the Xia family was good, but now it seems that they are not suitable. I don't know if White Fox has a girlfriend. Although my daughter had a failed marriage, she's not bad looking. I have a fiancé. Xiao Chen said. It's normal for us martial artists to have 3 wives and 4 concubines. White Fox, don't tell me that concubine Xia is your fiancé. The conversation between Shen Zhenghao and Xiao Chen was different from his usual serious attitude. It was full of jokes. Of course not. Xiao Chen said. My fiancé is Qing Menjing, but I can't tell you. That's right. My daughter's character is not bad. Moreover, that time with Chen Jinpeng was not voluntary. Shen Zhenghao's heart was determined. He felt that White Fox and his daughter should be able to succeed. Oh, I know. Xiao Chen replied indifferently. By the way, White Fox, which sect are you a disciple of? You have such strength at such a young age. You must be a key disciple of a big sect, right? Shen Zhenghao saw that White Fox was unwilling to express his stance on Shen Jingxian, so he did not ask further. He then changed the topic and began to probe Xiao Chen's background. Do the Shen family know about you asking so many questions? Xiao Chen's voice was cold. Mr. Shen, it's not good for us to know too much, isn't it? This. Of course I understand. Shen Zhenghao's heart skipped a beat. He felt the car he was driving suddenly stop. But he clearly did not step on the brake. Of course, Xiao Chen had only touched the car and infused some primordial qi into the brake system. The brake system automatically started. He wanted to scare Shen Zhenghao, and he also saw Shen Jingxian in the pavilion not far from the road. Shen Zhenghao might not have seen it, but Xiao Chen's divine sense was very strong. He was especially attentive to Goddess Shen, who he yearned for day and night, so he stopped the car. I stopped. Shen Jingxian is over there. Xiao Chen pointed out the window and said calmly, You're tuning into the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.